And we're live. Hey guys, what's up? Thank you for joining us. Tonight we got Rants Derek with us, the racist, huge racist. I'm surprised we have him on, but he kind of like pulled my arm. He was like, let me come on. I'll convince you I'm not racist. I'll swear to God, I'll show you. But, so I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. But, I'm here tonight with Fred and Chris as well. And we're probably going to be talking, I think, about, is white supremacy a threat globally? Like Chrystia Freeland is saying, and Justin Trudeau is trying to make Andrew Scheer say, which he has cucked and has said, earlier Trudeau just today on Twitter said that, what did he say? White supremacy has no place in Canada. It's time for all parties, including Andrew Scheer's Conservative Party, to stand together in denouncing hatred in all its forms. So, Andrew Scheer did respond to that. I'm trying to find the response, but I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
Well, on Twitter today, Joe Hazelton actually called out Omar Algebra, asking him to denounce the Muslim Brotherhood, and even put up $100 if he did it in the House of Commons. So I added 50 to it. I think it's up to 250 now with Tom Quiggin. He put in another $100.
Oh, so 1 second. I'm just going to answer a door, guys. Continue. Sorry about that.
So where do you is this like a place where you can go to and donate, or how does that work?
No, we were just doing it on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
He's asking Andrew Scheer to denounce white supremacy. So why shouldn't Omar denounce Islam supremacy or Islamic supremacy?
Yeah, that's a good kick in the nuts.
He'll never do it. I mean, if we can get enough cash, he might do it with his fingers tied behind his back so that he can actually get the money. Because he does seem kind of greasy and ratty like that.
See, but the problem with Scheer is that he's trying to play both sides, and this is a wrong political strategy. And I get it; it's an opportunity to get the vote, but actually the opposite may have a better impact. So he needs to stand up front and center, but it's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, he's too much of a pussy. That's why I hate Andrew Scheer. I can't support him because he's just, like he said, he cucked today on Twitter, and he's like, "Oh, of course, white supremacy is a threat," and he's fallen for the trap. He's playing into the leftist game where they try to make you speak their language where you can't, right? And he does the same thing with climate change, where he goes and he's like, "Oh, I believe it's a problem," and he whipped his cabinet members to vote for the Paris Climate Agreement. But then he doesn't release a climate plan. And they're like, "Oh, 560 days in waiting, guys," and it's still no plan. So he always looks weak compared to the Liberals because he agrees with all of their policies, but he's not going to go as hard as they are on each and every one of them. So, he's got to be like Trump when it comes to climate change and be like, it doesn't exist. It's fabricated. It's bullshit, right?
Okay. Do you think that the mainstream media in Canada would give him enough of a platform, or would they chop up his words? If he did,
they would chop up his words. They would definitely chop.
Good.
Great.
Nobody trusts the media. Fucking shit. Like, that's the thing. Everybody's so afraid of that. They tried doing that with Trump continuously, and it always backfired because every time they try to attack you, it just pretty much helps you grow more a lot of the times. And we're all assuming that people are really cucked and stuff in Canada and America or whatever, but a lot of the times it's just people just need to hear somebody say what needs to be said, right?
This is so true, because at work, when I have someone one-on-one and I start talking about a lot of these issues, they start to open up. It's like a rose blossoming, right. And they get really excited because they're like, "Oh shit, I'm not the only one at work that thinks like this." But they're so scared to bring this up because, it's a very leftist organization. So people are afraid. They don't want to lose their income because people got bills to pay.
So I saw actually a bizarre twist to this conversation. Reminded me of a movie I had playing in the background today while I was working from home, I guess. The Brexit movie that was on HBO that they did maybe about a month ago with Benedict Cumberbatch playing this kind of guy who was behind the scenes as the architect of the Leave movement. It was actually very, very entertaining. I don't know how true it was, but it was very entertaining. But one of the things they talked about, one of the things they showed was some focus groups that the Remain group did. And you had some people in there, like all the opinions that we talk about for any kind of issue in Canada. You had all the perspectives there about, the globalist type thing, the I don't really vote, but here's what I think. The guy who's at the steel plant and his jobs are gone overseas. And you have this one lady whose community's gone to crap because all their jobs are gone away. And she's just not feeling listened to. And she says, all this stuff is happening and we're just being ignored. And just kind of lost it in there. And I recommend everybody goes and checks out this movie if you can. You can probably just download it so you don't give HBO any money. but what you're just describing there, Fred, in terms of people having a voice, I think that's really true. Like I think some people kind of think these things when they're kind of told that's not the way they're supposed to think. So then they kind of keep it to themselves because they also see people's lives being destroyed when they talk against certain things. And I think a lot of people do share some of these opinions, but they just don't feel comfortable. The environment isn't an inclusive and accepting one.
Well, right. Diverting opinions. Has anything ever changed in society with people doing nothing and not taking any risk, and not putting their lives at risk? Like our ancestors would fight in wars with swords and hack each other to death. Not long ago, like World War II, and people they'd run from trenches with a 99% surety of being shot in the face, and they did that, right? And
that's different because your enemy, right? Your enemy, you face them, so you know where to point and shoot.
I'm just saying, you have a lot more to lose. Like we're not losing.
You can even look back at times in history where politicians were considered outlaws at the time until they got into power. Once they're into power, they're no longer outlaws and they're part of history.
There's like Hitler.
Going with it, but
No, I'm joking.
Canadian politicians. I forget the guy's name in 1837 that tried to start the Republican Party of Canada, and he was killed because of the deception that is Canada, right? There's another one. I don't know exactly who it is.
He was killed. Who was killed?
You don't mean Louis Riel? Louis Riel. That's a whole
Louis Riel.
Really?
I'm related to Louis Riel.
Hey,
I'm related to him.
To buddy that tried to start the Republican Party of Canada.
I said Louis Riel.
He's related to him, but I can't say his name.
Louis Riel.
I'm gonna try and look it up.
I can't say the English bastardized version of it. Okay,
friggin' frauds.
1844.
Bastard English. Get off my channel.
Yeah.
Immediately. So let's talk about faith, because I have a really unique thought about this situation. So I know she's been kicked off of pretty much every social space, but there are others, right? There's still IDW, and that'll be interesting to see her on that and how long she lasts, because I know she had a little bit of a kerfuffle with Jordan Peterson not allowing her to speak, which was stupid. But what's really scary here is that not only her, but they banned her from Airbnb. They've banned her from Uber. These are no longer like spaces where you can discourse, because there's other opportunities you can do that on other channels, but they are taking the ability for someone to participate in the economic space, which is the daily routine of what people do in the modern society. So that also impacts people. Let's say if I had a space, I wanted to rent to Faith. I've known Faith. She's she stayed at my place, so I want to make sure that if she needs a place to stay, I want to rent it out to her. Now you've taken that transaction away from me. And there's been other conservatives who've been banned from banks. So this is getting to the point where it's getting ridiculous, where you're now finding that you can't even transact in your normal day and routine. this is dangerous. This is dangerous territory. There's been like, payment processors like PayPal banning people not being able to transact. Who the hell are these people? They shouldn't be allowed to do this.
Well,
otherwise,
in the future as well, Facebook is going to be used as a digital ID. And if you've already been on person, I mean, that's why it should be considered like a public space, like a public utility, just like your electricity. You're not going to get your electricity shut off because of your views. Your lights will still turn on. No, they're not going to shut that off on you.
Yeah. But hold on, then you run the risk, because do you ever think about why
they turned off my electricity?
I know, mine too. so listen. So have you ever wondered why back a few years ago Google was pushing for becoming a public utility? They were for it. They were for regulation. I've always wondered why they would be so against it and then flip going for it, because that's to their advantage, right?
Well, they're for it now too. Facebook is like, we need to be regulated. We want government regulation.
Why is that? Think about it. Why is that?
Because they're not. They don't want to be. They don't want to be regulated in the way we want it to be regulated, right? When the free speech aspect, they want.
That's right.
Regulate the competition, essentially, right?
And they also want to, if they're a public utility, then they're entrenched. So, too big to fail becomes a real thing. And also with the amount of lobbying and money, like when Facebook got hauled in front of Congress a few years ago, that was the last year that they stopped, that they were not giving money to politicians in the United States and also around the world. Since then, they've been one of the top donors to politicians ever since that, because they realized at that point, and Twitter was soon to follow and other ones as well, that they need to play the game. They need to play the game and grease some palms in order to avoid that kind of thing from happening again. So yeah, they want to be a utility, but they're going to write the law that governs themselves.
Oh yeah,
so that they basically make the rules, and then they'll give it to their puppet politician and say, hey, make sure this goes through.
Well, it's kind of like how they legalized weed. It sounds like a good thing, and then they're just gonna fuck it on you.
Well, they'll push out the smaller. They'll push out the smaller growers, and then they'll they can control the rates, right?
Yeah.
Well, look at the
it's such a mess the way they did it in Ontario. It's really, really a mess.
Well, it also, and the different provinces did it differently as well. But also they were able to sneak in a bunch of different police state laws in there too. And now the police can knock on your door and ask you for a breathalyzer 2 hours after they think you've been smoking weed or something, right? Or drinking or whatever. And so it's like they pass all that through. And what you need to do for weed is you need to decriminalize it, but obviously they just want to legalize it, make the money off of the profits. I saw an article today that said the price of weed has increased by 17%. And anybody who buys weed knows that if you go into Delta or some of the stores and you're like, oh yeah, this is like almost twice the price, or at least
the same price ever since I started smoking it. If anything, it's gotten cheaper.
Right. Sorry.
It's just complete bogus that what they're trying to put it out there. That's just so that they can raise their own prices. And with the draconian laws that they're putting in, that they snuck in on the legalization bill, where was Antifa on that? That's completely fascist what they're doing, being able to come into your house and take a breathalyzed sample. And another good example would be how the Trudeau government is in bed with Loblaws. You just gave $12 million to Loblaws. And didn't Mussolini define fascism as the marriage between government and business?
Well, that is, yes. That's what pure fascism is.
Yeah. The more I read about fascism, the more I'm like, this is just what we have.
Well, no, and so if you think about that, and I want to kind of pivot back to Faith Goldie, but on the topic of giving monies, it's just not their money. Public money to private corporations, the Weston family, which is I think the third or fourth richest family in Canada, and just looking further into them, they were actually being investigated for tax evasion. They had opened up a company, a bank, and they were funneling their own revenue into that bank and pulling it in and out and avoiding paying taxes. They were brought into the courts, and the courts were questioning, well, wait a sec, why are you calling it a bank when you have no outside customers, and the only people that the money is going in and out is the money from the family? Yeah. So they quickly liquidated that and closed that. So it's like,
about it, it's actually a really smart strategy. It's like they're just kind of going down their list of fees and bills. Like, okay, we're paying the banks all this interest, and they're purchasing. The banks are getting money at a lower interest rate than we are because they're kind of the middleman. So let's just start our own bank. Like I have billions of dollars, and I have nothing. I want to get more. Like, it's such a flex, so to speak, for these guys to say, let's just start a bank. Let's just start a bank and cut the banks out. That's amazing.
Well, that's the thing, right? So you always need to follow the money. I always say, like in the movie, show me the money, right? Jerry Maguire says, show me the money. Or it's not Jerry Maguire, the other actor, the football player. And if you look at, for example, on the Gillette thing, right? So just going back to that, when Gillette was pushing that marketing that white men are bad and, white men are oppressive and blah, blah, blah. And then you start looking at where that campaign is for, where are they gearing it to? And then I started investigating. I found that campaign is for Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And 2 of the 4 board members siphoned off about $600,000. But that's only one case. They have 4 other instances of fraud that's being dragged through the courts. And they take money from public funds. The government gives some of them funds because they're classified as a non-governmental organization. There's tons of them. There's like 1.5 million of them actively in the US. And there's quite a bit of them here too. And really and then Gillette says, okay, all of the funds that we collect for this campaign are going to go to this board, which is essentially to pay off their legal fees and pay off the missing $400,000 that was embezzled by these 2 board members. It's all a fucking big racket. And so you just need to follow the money. So I'm sure the Westons have, how did Nixon say, if you want to guide your enemy, put your shoulder around him and just guide him into your direction? This is basically what the Weston family has been doing with the Liberal Party. They're in on the take. It's a big, huge racket. The only way you're going to bust these assholes is if you come out and state, forget about it, we don't want a federation anymore. I mentioned this previously, right? There's no other way to bust these guys down is to say, oh, all the provinces are going to go on their own. Fuck you. And then the federal government disappears. They might kind of weasel themselves into a provincial government, but they're easily watched. You're a lot closer to them, right? But
yeah, the problem is convincing the masses to get on your side, right?
I think that could have bigger ramifications on a bigger scale. I mean, Ontario doesn't have an army. Manitoba sure as fuck doesn't. That could be. I like the idea of stepping apart and separating, because you're right. That's the only way you're going to be able to break it down.
Well, yeah, we're worried about armies and stuff like that, but I don't think that's necessarily something that's the biggest worry, because there are plenty of nations that have like very ineffective or non-existent armies and stuff, and we're also surrounded by allies as well. And I think that, I understand the idea of wanting to stay unified as Canada, and I do as well. Like, look, Canada, half the shit I have is like Canada, right? I love Canada. I love my country, but I'm just thinking down the road and what's the inevitable outcome. You look at history, countries rarely stay one country for a long time. Either their borders grow, they diminish, they separate into different countries because of ethnic differences, tribal differences, and that's what we're pretty much heading down towards.
So you don't love the country. You love
it's when it will happen. Essentially, it's not if it will happen. When.
So let me make a correction there, right? Let's try to be accurate. You don't necessarily love the country. You love the concept of what the country used to be. And by separating, it doesn't mean you don't love the country any less. You just love it, what it used to represent.
Yeah, well, it's who cares? At the end of the day, it's like I'm not like a jingoist or a fucking person. It's like, my country. Like, you know, it's like if Canada were to you know, I would like it if I guess we're together, but then, you know, let's just say Canada were to fall apart like today or tomorrow, and then Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Alberta became like Saskatchewan Alberta stan or something. Like over time, you would be a patriot to Saskatchewan Manitoba stan, and you would be like, oh, I love this place and it's my fucking blood. And you know, over time, you would eventually, you know, then have allegiance to that country and shit. So it's like, yeah, like, you know, I'm not so wedded to the idea, but because honestly, it's like I don't see the country staying together, especially with the path of immigration that we're heading towards. Maybe if we were more of a homogenous country, but just with the equalization payments alone, that probably would have destroyed us already. And you know, Quebec staying in there, and you know, Quebec, I think that they should have left a long time ago. They should still leave right now, and the rest of Canada would be way better off. And you know, that's what I see for the future of Canada, anyways. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll somehow turn around. We'll become like Rome and last for 1,000 years. Like, expand our territory.
Let's play the next year out. This year is probably going to decide how bad Canada is going to be. I mean, we could kind of tie in what you were saying about the Westons and how they're so embedded with the government, the Liberals, what's happening with their financial backing right now. Trudeau called out Scheer on a TV interview saying, oh, does he believe in Pizzagate? Blah, 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 trying to smear him. What Scheer should do if he was smart is bring up NXIVM and how Christy Mack just pleaded guilty to the NXIVM charges. The Bronfman family, who has been the main funding for the Liberals for the past 100 years, is also being charged. She's the one that Claire, I think it is, that just fainted in court when she found out.
Yeah, I talked about that. She fainted because they suggested that she was her lawyer was that scummy whore lawyer. What's his name again?
Avenatti.
Avenatti, yeah. And then she fainted.
What an ambulance chaser this guy's turned into, eh? She's and everything.
Well, the fact that they're not saying anything tells you a lot. Right.
Yeah, what's happening in the States, it all ties into Canada as well. So what you're seeing with the Q stuff and the brewing of hatred on both sides. Well, more on the left. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The red is being painted and tarred and feathered right now, so you just can't say anything. Just wait for your label to come out.
Yeah, we're being labeled, like people like me, like you and stuff, like people talking about nationalism, essentially Canadian nationalism. They're being labeled as some of the worst people, and the leftists are trying their hardest to try to make this a bigger threat than Islamic terrorism. And there was an article today by, like, you know, it was like the RCMP or CSIS, and the headline says, CSIS dealing with right-wing extremism more and more, says spy chief. But if you read it, it still says, like, Islamic terrorism and religious extremism is still by far the main concern. And, like, you know, but clearly, you know, this is how they frame it.
MAGA hat is a symbol of hate and genocide. They really think that it stands for racism. And like, mine's coming in the mail pretty soon, to be honest with you.
Well, Derek, you're lucky. You work in, I understand, outside, but I work in an office environment, and Chris he travels to the US on business, and he brought me a limited edition MAGA hat, and I wore it to work, and people were just spurting out all over the place. They were like, take it off, take it off, take it off. I'm like, why? It's just a hat. Relax.
I really wish you had just like gone into the office with like your cell phone camera just on your chest, just so you could capture reactions from people as you walked through that monolith, that huge complex that you work in, to go to your desk. I would have loved that. This is
people were. I was being told to take it off because somebody might react and get violent. I'm like, we work in a business.
Hold on. We have tolerance here, right? Like we're accepting and we're diverse of opinions and cultures, and I'm just expressing myself. I identify as a Trump supporter. I self-identify as a Trump supporter. No, that's a gender. That's a gender now. So mine.
Red hat.
58th gender, Trump supporter.
I'm gonna get one that made you look.
Yeah, I want to get a MAGA hat just to trip people out. Not that I'm like a huge Trumper or anything like that. But I still kind of like Trump. I like some of what he's doing. Like, some of the stuff you see, you're just like, that's fucking hilarious. There's this whole didn't he do a campaign rally the other day, or a thing that with Batman, and then it had to be taken down today or something. Warner Bros were like, you can't use our song, and
wasn't it his campaign video?
Right, yeah, he was doing a campaign video, and they were butthurt that he used, I think, the music from Batman 2012 Batman, and they're like, technically it was like, I guess, fair use because there's talking over it and stuff, but still they're going to be like, oh, we're immediately working to remove it from the internet, right?
Guys, I was even brandished because I like watching Steven Crowder, so I bought a bunch of his products online, and I bought his Trump is dope shirt, with the glasses and a cigarette. And
Mark Dice, you mean?
The Mark Dice, sorry, Mark Dice.
Yeah, I was actually going to get that one for you. I thought, and I was like,
I got it already. I bought it a while ago. I bought the mug too, but it came broken. But anyways, I wore that to work, and people are just like so sensitive. And I keep saying, guys, it's a fucking shirt, man. Relax. But this is
make Trumpism your religion, and make sure you pray to Trump 5 times a day. But 6 times a day. And,
say like Trump is
make
like
sure
God Emperor.
and you self-identify as a Trump supporter, and that's your gender. And just get that written down somewhere. But say that physically you're a female, so that you can compete and win in sports, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, but for me the purpose the purpose is just to trigger people, to make them react, because for me it's better to show that the intolerance is on your side. So the more wherever I go, like for example, to support Faith last night, and I did a video and I screen shared it. I went on Facebook and I started putting things like, being white is okay. White people do cool things. They made cool things. And I've put up more stuff just for them to try to banish me. They haven't banned me yet, but let's see how far I can take it. I might start posting Dukes of Hazzard flags and shit like that. So, because I think the more they try to ban, I think this company is going to go into oblivion anyway. I don't think many people use Facebook as much as they used to. There's a lot of fake and bot accounts on it right now. But again, going back to Faith, I think the danger of banning her from being able to transact is bullshit. I'm more concerned about her being banned off of Airbnb and Uber. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? It has nothing to do with Uber. It has the guy who wants to pick her up and make cash on it to deliver her somewhere where she wants to go. So what's next for her? I think they banned her off PayPal or like they banned Lauren from any of those pay processors. What's next? They're going to ban her from the bank? Is she that dangerous? What does she weigh? 110 soaking wet?
Yeah, it's the thing is like she is that dangerous, right? Like we are that dangerous to a large extent. Like, they want to keep the NPCs in the dark. And social media was the greatest tool to wake up a lot of these people, because, most people are just going through their day-to-day lives. They don't really know what the fuck is going on. And Twitter and social media and sharing and all this stuff, got Trump elected. That freaked them the fuck out. They're like, oh, this should have never happened. And, and now Faith Goldie, she's kind of like, she's the canary in the coal mine, right? She's a canary in the coal mine, and what you see, what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to get people like what do you call it, Andrew Scheer and just basic milquetoast conservatives, and try to align them as white supremacists, as supporting white supremacy, et cetera, because the Marxists, what they're trying to do is destroy the family, destroy the basic conservative type principles, because like this is what they're against. They're against even moderate conservatism. They can't even let that exist, right? So it's like, and you see them trying to tie Andrew Scheer with Faith Goldie, and being like, oh, he was at the rally 2 months ago and he has yet to condemn her. He did this.
Faith
he was on the Rebel.
Skyjack on a trailer in the street. And Andrew Scheer was right in front of HOC. Like, ridiculous to try and paint them with the same brush.
Right. And it's funny. And it's like, I love watching it all. I love watching it because these people, like I say, they're NPCs, and they're like, oh, okay, there was what are these? The daughters of the vote. What are these girls the other day that they were mad at Trudeau, so they turned their back on him, but then they turned around and asked him a bunch of questions. What are you doing about white supremacy? What are you doing about this? But then when it came to Andrew Scheer, they left and they just walked out of the room because of his association with white supremacists.
I don't know if you guys noticed or not on YouTube, probably more so on Facebook. A few of those girls that turned their back came out and made videos. I'm thinking of one girl in particular. I wish I could come up with her name, but people viciously attacked her for turning her back on Trudeau. Like, that's your liberals for you. They will come after you. And I had the same experience when I went to Ottawa for the convoy. We were just walking to Tim Hortons, and the one girl was wearing a yellow vest that we were walking with, and some white dude just walks right up to her and says, "We don't want you here," and didn't realize that I was walking behind her, like turned around and look. Like, it's very weird what the liberals are doing with their shame tactics.
Right.
Well, they're trying to split us up. It's easier to manage us when we have when we're fighting amongst each other. The problem is there's too many stupid people. You can't help them. You saw remember when Faith went downtown to City Hall and that idiot decked that 7-foot guy, and he started fighting back. He's the one who gets arrested, and you see these idiots, morons yelling, "Oh, you need to get out, you need to get out," all those homos and fugly lesbos and stuff like that. Some of these people, they're promoting this victimology, right? So you give these losers a sense of self-importance, and all of a sudden they feel empowered, and then they speak louder. You ever notice these people? They are never able to speak on a one-to-one term in a very quiet, monotone way, distributing facts. And they just start to yell over you. It's impossible to communicate with them. So what you need to do is just mock them, laugh at them. They hate being laughed at. Have you noticed? This is why they want to attack people who meme, because they got no sense of humor.
I was going to say, Fredrick, on a lot of the other sites. How's it going, everybody, by the way?
Hey, Jamesy. Hey, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. No, the thing is I've seen on the left, a lot of left-wing YouTubers actually put out there that you should shout other people down, because then, quote unquote, and here's their rationale. It's truly stupid. Is that if you scream at someone, then they cannot deny your reality anymore.
Yeah, well, a lot of them, what they do is they go on blockchains and stuff, and they're told to not even associate with anybody on the right. Like we're all being banned from social media because they don't want us talking to them. Like that's it. Sean King, like example, him and a bunch of other Black Lives Matter people, they created this huge
Sean King. Is that the fake black dude?
Yeah. But they worked with Twitter, right? And Twitter actually helped them create this platform that allowed them to pre-block all of these white supremacists and put them all on this blockchain thing. So then it's not a blockchain, but it's this you sign up to it, and all these people on your account are pre-blocked. So thousands and thousands and thousands of people are all pre-blocked because everybody kind of throws it in. They're like, you know, you block somebody and you kind of add it to the list. So it's all these like, you know, approved people like me and you guys, right? Because they don't want like these Black Lives Matter NPC people to interact with us to be like, that's wrong. That's bullshit. Here, look at this. That's wrong. Here, look at this. You know?
But they're already pre-programmed. You can't talk to them. I had a coworker, a nice black guy who's the size of a fucking Mack truck. And, you know, he one day we're talking and he's like, you know, you have white privilege. And I'm like,
you
what?
Like that, don't you, Fredrick?
No. I'm just a shy smaller than the size of him, but everybody just seems to big black guy, right? So that's fine. But he starts saying to me, I have white privilege. And I'm like, dude, you have the same job as me. You drive a better car. You're better dressed than me. What the fuck are you talking about? And there's nothing I could try to talk to him about it that would convince him otherwise. He's so pre-programmed to think that I have white privilege. And I'm like,
some people are lost causes. Some people are lost causes, but other people aren't. And sometimes it's depending on how you approach somebody, the way you bring it up. Like it's and you know, a lot of people in America too, like Black Americans and stuff, and white Americans, like there's a lot of segregation that goes on there still, not like forcefully, but like some Black people in America have literally like never met or seen or like really talked to many white people, and same with like some white people have never really met, seen, or whatever talked to any Black people. So this does, you know, it makes it easier for people to believe a lot of fake bullshit about, you know, other groups of people, like, oh, they're all this way and all this way, because they don't know any of us, some of them, right? And then there are like some of the worst people though are the mixed people that are half white and half Black. Those are the ones that are the most adamant and crazy about the whole Black Lives Matter thing, because they're like kind of between both worlds, where they don't feel fully accepted as being Black, and they don't feel white, so they kind of go hardcore into the Black identity thing. And then they just go like Sean King's, who's not even fucking Black, like, let's face it. But yeah, like they're like the worst ones, really. It's those people, because they're so conflicted, you know, like internally.
Well, it kind of reminds me too of what how the U.S. Congress just treated Candace Owens here this what was it, 2 days ago, I think. I did a video on that just to show how. I mean, the thing that blew my mind was the guy that was heading up that little faculty there was like, okay, you're not supposed to be disparaging toward, you know, committee members. And I'm like, yeah, but they could be disparaging toward her. That's fine. She's serving as a witness. Last I knew, the rules went both ways. You're not supposed to abuse your witnesses either, fuckface. And then when she comes back and says, I never told him, stupid, he literally goes, oh, okay. And he just shrugged at her. Just fucking shrugged at her. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Really? A Black chick. Not only a Black chick, but a Black chick that works at a college for a very devout Jew. I mean, she's like the intersectionality queen of the South. I mean, she's perfect. She's everything the left wing fucking preaches about is oppressed and subdued and all this shit. And they're treating her like a fucking cotton picking, you know what, out in the field. And that's exactly how they treated her. It was unfucking believable. I was like, okay, great. So I just went off about the hypocrisy in my video on it. I'm like, fuck you guys. You guys are the ones that do this shit.
With her response there, she's like, do you think Black people are stupid?
I loved it. I loved her fucking response. I loved every word of it. I was like,
that was the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I was like, oh my God. I was like, why did you say, like, that's why she's a joke, really. That's why she's a joke. And like, I just can't stand that woman. And like, I think she does say a lot of good things. Like, if you listen to her, like, oh, nice, she's saying that. But ultimately, like, I just don't fucking trust her.
Oh no,
and she says stupid shit. She says stupid shit like that. Like,
no, that's fine. Like, we take our allies where we can. She's a million times. Well, she's a million times ahead of AOC, right?
She's subversive.
So
I don't trust her, man. She's one of these people. You get all of these fake allies, right? And some allies are good. So don't push them away, like Faith Goldie, right?
Yeah.
But there's fake ones. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you saying? Sorry.
Well, here's the thing: not every ally is going to be a perfect ally. Like, what even is
That's
that?
not what I'm saying.
I think you kind of need to pick them on an issue by issue basis.
She's worse than an ally. She's worse than an ally. She pushes people away from joining. That's my point. Like, she's not good. What she does is she gets white conservatives to be like, like come in and shit. And they're like, oh, look at all the things she's saying. And trust me, I like it too. It's great. But that's all she's doing is she's making a bunch of money from conservatives who love her going and telling black people.
Yeah, but you just described Trump too, though, right? Because he was at the same CPAC saying we need more immigrants. Come on.
I mean, Trump is a billionaire.
Trump is in office, and Candace Owens is not. Trump was running for an election. Candace Owens is not. So don't give your money to Candace Owens, who's not going to do anything for you.
That's right. Give your money to AJ Elicits, because AJ actually needs your money.
Speaking
AJ
of giving money,
spend your money appropriately.
Trump was actually just in LA last week.
How many black people voted in the midterms? Where's the black wave that she was promising? No, she's not. The black people, they laugh at her, man. They're laughing at her, the majority of them. And they're like, what is she, this idiot, right? And it's not that she's saying, if she just stuck to some of the rhetoric, but she goes in with the whole black card way too often. And, I think that ultimately she's more of a negative than a positive.
I wouldn't say so. She still went ahead and in front of a bunch of assholes who were putting her down. So I'll give her some credit for that, right? Like she may not say the right things. I was a little bit shocked that she came in as a representative. There is that thing that tainted her, which she had a website collecting and doxing people that were of conservative nature, and then all of a sudden that she sort of brushed that away and apologized for it. I'll discount that a little bit. I'm not saying she's the brightest thing around the block, but she is speaking for those values. And whatever card she uses, let's use, because the left uses the race card. Let's use where she's using the race card. I'm okay with it. But I agree in some sense she's not the brightest chip around the block, but cool. I'm all right with that. But we could have better people representing, like
she's a joke. She's a joke.
Okay, we get it. You don't like her.
AJ was actually sort of correct in the beginning that she had no credibility with black people whatsoever. They thought she was a joke. They thought she's just been cooning up Uncle Tommen the whole time.
Yep.
And I think she actually probably gained a little bit of black cred standing up to the old white guy today. That was
no, she did 3 Jews. There was like Rand Paul did a thing. He's like 3 Jews, a Muslim, and 3 black people interviewed a black girl about white supremacy.
Yeah.
Look at the optics about this.
Well,
a white man, a white guy, right? I don't know.
Well, and the whole point of my video is that the left has a really bad time of doing this, and they do it not just against blacks, but they do it against anybody. Which is, if you're a minority, if you're Jewish, if you're whatever, the fucking moment that you turn around and you point at one of the left-wing pillars and goes, that seems kind of fucked up. You are an Uncle Tom. You are a racist. You are a bigot. You're a xenophobe. You're a white supremacy sympathizer. They are more racist, I would say, than anybody I've ever seen in my life. And I've actually known some real-life skinheads when I was growing up, and those guys weren't as racist as these guys are. Because the fucking, I'm just saying, right. The level of intolerance you have to have for anyone to just point at them and go racist as soon as especially if they're a minority that you quote unquote represent and care about, and that's what your whole political platform is. If you can turn around just like that on a second's notice and just spit on them, that to me tells me there's something seriously fucking wrong with you.
You want to break the argument when somebody calls you a racist? You just say, "Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Thanks for the compliment." What's your point? Well, you're a racist. What's your point? They never have a point. Well, you said this and this. Okay, does that race do this? Do they have a particular way of behaving in a certain modus operandi? Is their physiology different from other races? Because there are small variances in the races. Like the Chinese have an incredibly fast metabolism. They lack an enzyme to process alcohol. I'm a racist. That's fine. You know, black people have more muscular mass than white people do. There's variances in different races. And if somebody wants to call me out for that, for recognizing that, or recognizing that they have different social paradigms, that's fine. But they can't argue that. Once you accept it, when somebody says you're a racist, to say, yeah, that's it. That's right. I am.
Well, it depends on what sort of platform you're speaking on, because if you want to be Andrew Scheer right now, you can't say that.
Maybe he should. Maybe he would be surprised. Like I told you, when I talk to people at work, they open up. Just people are afraid to kind of open up a little bit.
You know, it's like
you need a sponsor.
I agree to some extent, but it's like he's not even saying the stuff we need him to say about like climate change or something, right? If he goes right into the races are real.
Well, I'm doing a bad impression of a liberal right now. He's like a liberal light, and I think one of us said earlier on the call, he's treading too lightly. He doesn't necessarily have to go all the way one way or the other. I mean, but he needs to go a lot further to the right than he's doing right now to really distinguish himself from Troy. I think he's just trying not to scare people, quote unquote. But I think there's a lot of people who are kind of staying out of the conversation,
he's just too stupid to actually come up with a really good rebuttal. Somebody says, "Oh, you support white supremacy?" I said, "What do you mean by that? Do you mean like Christians? Are you saying that Christians are white supremacists? Because majority of the white people out there and other races as well are Christians. So flip the argument. Always throw the same argument back and watch them start to fumble, and they'll get all flustered." But we don't have people with the mental acuity that is required for people to be in politics. This is why they fail. This is why I don't trust in politicians. They fumble, right?
No, it's because democracy, ultimately, you have to pander to the public, and the people are stupid. And people always want more shit, more money, more things. So it's really easy to, like, you know, corrupt the populace and the population, right? So like politicians, are corrupt, just like you say, but you know, people are corrupt. We all are corrupt, and we all partake in the corrupt system. And the thing is, it's like, you know, us even talking about, like, you know, what Andrew Scheer should do, what Andrew Scheer he should say this is a bad sign, because it's like he's not going to say these things. And also, even if he did, he wouldn't mean them, and he's doing it just for political reasons, right? And you know, maybe that's all you can ask for sometimes, and in the moment. But you know, far down the road, I'm just like, you know, I don't trust this guy. If we gotta like push and nudge him to say just basic conservative things, like he's not even saying the stuff Maxime Bernier is saying when it comes to climate change, which he's saying, like if he had the rhetoric that Maxime Bernier was saying right from the start. But I think Max also needs to go further on immigration, especially in his position right now, right? Because you know, I look at his Twitter feed and he keeps talking about, like, he's making good points about the government and about crony capitalism and all this stuff, but that's not going to invigorate people, right? It's what's going to invigorate.
I think you're different. I think you're wrong there. Enoch Powell was really invigorating the people. He backed off a little bit too soon.
Is it invigorating them? What's his percentage, right? Doesn't seem to be invigorating people. And I don't see a lot of likes and retweets on those either. And it doesn't. You know, Ron Paul invigorated some people, but he didn't by any means win, not even close. But, you know, what I'm saying in his position, like Andrew Scheer, if in his position, all he needs to do would need to do is be more hardcore on climate change, like, you know, say like it doesn't exist, you know, in a few other topics. He doesn't need to go as far as Max, but Max, what he needs to do in his position, he needs to go far on immigration and actually, like, you know, nobody's going to hear your libertarian principles. They're just going to pass them by, you know, unfortunately. But if he starts talking about demographics and starts, you know, sounding the alarm on that, you're going to get a bunch of hate articles written about him, which will be a good thing. That will just boost his support even more, and that will sound the alarm for people. What's going on? You know, most people, I read an article a while ago, when they find out about immigration, their support for it diminishes. And already the majority of Canadians already want to reduce immigration, and of white Canadians, that's even higher. But right before that, I wanted to address a super chat from Joyce Reeves. Thank you for the $20 donation. That's awesome. I really appreciate that, and thank you for watching. But yeah, if anybody else wanted to jump in there.
That's so you're bringing up immigration. So Jamesy, you know, there's a second or third, I don't know what fucking count I'm at now, with the caravan that's coming. It's supposed to be a biggie. They're up to like 1,500 people that are on their way to the U.S. And then Donald Trump, I think, made a video saying, "Sorry, too bad, we're too full right now."
Yeah.
So
that was like apparently quoting Hitler or something.
Yeah, but it all
read an article about that.
But this is where the left wing in our country is getting all pissed off in the States, is that it comes back to that whole thing we talked about last time I was on your show, AJ, where every US president in the history of America has gone, okay, amnesty, and it didn't matter which side of the aisle they were on. Trump is the only one giving everybody the middle finger and saying, "Fuck you, no amnesty," and that is what's pissing everyone off, because it used to be, okay, we'll fight against it. The Republicans used to fight against it, or let's pretend to, and then bang, amnesty.
Yeah. And I know somebody, sorry, go ahead.
And Trump is the only one sitting there going, no, fuck you. And that's what this whole thing's about. That's what that whole thing's about. It doesn't have to have fuck all to do with the kids, about getting more judges, about all this other shit. I mean, I just wrote a final paper for my master's degree. One of the papers I have to write anyway. I'm still getting the master's degree, but it's in Homeland Security. And the thing is that our Border Patrol is understaffed by 7,000 people. We can't hire enough. You know, we can't get them in. And the thing is, every time they do get people in and they get them going at the Border Patrol, other agencies inside the United States, from the Department of Justice, so the FBI, DOJ offices, other stuff like that, and other departments in DHS, Department of Homeland Security, which is part of, you know, it's Border Patrol's under them, steal some of their most attractive members. So Border Patrol. So I laughed my ass off when CNN came out and said, yes, we have to do this for the judges because it'd be more humanitarian. And I'm like, stop them. Stop the easy access door coming to our fucking country, because people are dying trying to get here. You know what I mean? They're going against borders. What if one of those borders from one of those countries between us and Honduras suddenly turn around and say, no, you're all dead? What happens then? What is the left wing going to say? What's going to be a battle cry then? And if you're a bleeding heart out there for the immigrants coming through the south border, I understand. I'm not trying to smash those people. What I am saying, though, is that there's a very real human cost for doing this type of dumb shit. And if you don't take that into account, you're lying to yourself, you're lying to everyone else around you, and you're part of the fucking problem. You need to stop lying to yourself about it. Okay?
I think there's a secret agreement. Trump is just gonna walk them from the southern border right to the 49th parallel, right through Roxham Road, which is why our Liberal Party seriously, this is what's going to happen. This is why our Liberal Party just gave $1.8 million towards more Border Patrol. But if you read the fine print, it says to assist in faster processing.
Yeah, well, that has to do with our government. But Trump. So go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've read that. I've got a copy of it myself. And Trump is the only thing standing in the way of that caravan coming up here to vote before going back down for the 2020.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, he is for of Canada, you mean entering Canada?
Well, we're lucky Trump,
America.
right? We're lucky he's holding those migrant caravans down there because they're headed here for the 2019 election before going back.
Well, yeah. I know somebody who works like in the government in America too, and is processing some of these asylum seeker cases of the reunification. And yeah, Trump is sending these people home. Right. And like really pissing off the ACLU. Like they're sending lawsuit after lawsuit. Like, how many kids have you reunited? And they're like, under 3,000. And then they keep saying, under 3,000. They're like, oh, the number hasn't changed. And I heard, this is what the person told me. They told me that he sent this one lady home and her baby and her kid, and they just dropped them off at a bus stop in like Mexico or something. Like the government did that. I'm not even joking. Like, this is what the Trump administration did to some of these people. And then they're like, ACLU is asking them like, oh, how come you haven't reunified anybody? And they're like, oh, they're all criminals. That's why we can't reunify them. And it's like, and a lot of them are criminals. A lot of them, they found like a lot of them were murderers that they uncovered. A lot of them were rapists. All the DNA, and a lot of the money that they were going to use to reunite families that they wanted Trump to use, he actually just used it to do DNA tests on all of them, right? So then that uncovered, like I said, a bunch of murderers, and it uncovered that a lot of them weren't their kids. So then we can't reunite them. So
what about that idiot that came over in a business suit and he had a suitcase of 145,000 US dollar bills nicely wrapped, and they let him in through Roxham Road? It's like, what do you have? It's like a gangster. It's like the Italian mafia from New York. It's like, don't worry, we'll get Johnny Fiducci his cash. We'll just walk through Roxham Road.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the thing is down on our south border. It's like I told AJ last time, and I'm sure some of the folks in the chat have heard me say this before, is that it's the past 20, 25 years, probably more, has been for our southern border to be like a child wanting a treat and whining and crying at dad, and dad finally giving in every single time and giving the kid the treat. Now, for lack of better terminology, America's got a new daddy, and he likes to give the backhand. He's not afraid to be a dick, and that's why everybody's losing their shit.
Bush almost gave amnesty, almost, but like a bunch of conservative talk show radio hosts got a bunch of people aware of it at the last minute, and they all called their senators, and but he almost, gave all of the illegals in America amnesty, right?
Like I said, it's a normal tactic for the right wing in my country, unfortunately, to pull. It is a very common practice.
So, what do you think the chances are of me being able to go down and claim refugee status in the States?
Pretty good. I don't know.
Actually, from what I understand, it's pretty slim because Chris, we can ask Chris. He works, he travels down there often. But I thought that it was very difficult to get work in the U.S., especially like in the management level. But if you're in the top management, or if you want to clean toilets, it's a lot easier. I don't know, Chris.
Well. No, the thing is, Rant. Sorry, I have to correct myself real quick. Yeah, I just noticed, sir, you're white, so no, you can't get refugee status. White people aren't refugees just by default. So
Canadians wouldn't be either.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I thought I was playing that card, but no, it didn't work. Well, what we can do is, we can travel to the U.S. for up to 6 months per year for meetings, quote unquote, but not actual work. So when I go to travel to the U.S. for work, for meetings, every once in a while I'll get a U.S. border official who will say to me, so what's the purpose of your trip? And okay, I'm going down to Milwaukee, for example, for some meetings for a couple of days. It's like, okay, and so every once in a while somebody will ask me like some follow-up questions. Like 99 times out of 100, no one will ask me a follow-up question. So you know, what kind of meetings? Usually it's just okay, go through. Mind you, caveat, I have Nexus, so I've already been pre-screened going back to my literally when I was a small child, and fingerprints and iris scans on file with 2 federal governments, along with Five Eyes, you know, the control, the AI. I'm sure I have no privacy for the rest of the time.
Hey, look, I didn't know this.
Order easy if I have to.
So just switching the topic a bit, Jerry Tom McCunnock said Russia took in a few thousand South African white farmers. Actually, that's pretty neat. I did not know that. I know that Australia. We're gonna. That's good. You know. So hey, for the Slavs, a good win for the Slavs. I'm gonna pat myself on the back for a bit.
You know,
blame Russia now. Okay, very good.
He even came out, Putin, and said there needs to be more freedom on the internet, stuff like that. So we're like, what the fuck?
Well, okay, but Putin's definition of freedom is not freedom.
Yeah, but no, he's only saying it to counter what's going on essentially in, like, you know, he doesn't believe it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can take it with a grain of salt, but he's just saying it, right?
Well, guys, so while the West cucks out to lefties, Marxists, and all the lunatics, you know, there is a safe space. It's called Eastern Europe. We don't take that shit there. So.
Hey, actually, this is
what we do in Croatia. What we do in Croatia as they start coming in through, we start saying, "Oh, okay, here's your way. Here's your ticket to the train. Take it to you know,
you're in Canada,
Terminus station." Well, I might have to run. I don't know the way things are going. That's why I'm training. I'm training to be a hunter and a warrior.
Take a look at that article that I just sent you on IDW. See if you can pull that up. It's the article about blonde people in Germany and how they're if they look aggressive, or sorry, if they look happy, don't believe it. They could be aggressive.
Oh my God! Yeah, I see it right here. So, Parenting Magazine warns blonde, cheerful families dangerous, likely right wing. So, like,
but it's not
German
racist.
People?
It's not racist, AJ. It's not racist because they're white. I love the absurdity.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You know, they always illustrate like, you know, white people. Like I was saying my stream the other day when I was talking about like the guy wanting to sterilize himself for climate change. You know, it's always like a white babies.
It had to be a white guy.
And, you know, it's like, yeah, as a white guy or something, and he's like, "Oh, I'm doing this, and I told my parents, and they weren't even surprised because I'm a vegan and I do this and I don't use plastic." And they're like, "Oh, okay, so it's better that you don't reproduce, son." Actually,
you know what would be an interesting, you know what would be an interesting statistic in the States to do is how many white kids are transgender and how many black kids end up transgender. So I'll bet you'll find them in white kids.
Yeah, right. It's directed. Pardon?
The culture they grow up in and who their influences are.
Oh yeah, no. Black people are notoriously notorious. I've been told this my whole life, so it could be true. This is anecdotal though. Is that I was told by black people my entire life that black people are horrendously homophobic.
Yeah,
like it's not bad to be a gay person. It's like you're out of the family and they might kill you out of the family.
Not kind of. On average, right? But
Jamaicans have a number of words for gay people that are also.
Sorry?
Jamaicans have a wide variety of swears as relates to homosexuals.
Jamaica has like a history as to why they don't like gay people, though. You know, if you look at the slave history of Jamaica, that's where all the bad slaves were sent, and they were like raped, right? Like literally, they were like sodomized. So it's not because they're Muslim. It's not because of this. It's because they have their history, and they're like they just, you know, if they find you're gay in Jamaica, like, don't be gay in Jamaica. That's like, you may as well be in like an Islamic country at that point. Not that, but that I'm just saying specifically Jamaica, right? So it's worse there.
So I want to ask you guys. There was a Al Jazeera article that was posted today or in the morning, and I talked about that. So we knew that after that incident they were going to start to go after the guns, but now this is like they're really ramping it up. And like if you think about how long it takes the government to do anything that's decent, it takes them months to years. They've done this in essentially 2 weeks, and now they've gone after the farmers to take away their guns and shotguns, which what they use to keep the vermins off. Those little Tasmanian devils are like vicious little fucks. So there's a petition by the Farmers Guild, and they said to the government, says, give us special permission because we use these weapons and we can prove to you that we use them for vermin control and protection. And they said, no, we're taking it away from you, which is shotguns, which I know a lot of hunters use. But the other thing is that they said, well, you can hire a government contractor that will come out specifically for you to take care of your vermin, which is insane. It's another racket. I just wanted to get you guys feeling on that, because right now Canada's working on they did a petition, and out of the 150,000 or 350,000, maybe someone can correct me, they were saying 80% of the respondents on the survey said we do not need stricter gun controls on restricted weapons. And that surprised everybody. But they're going to use the case, I know it, from New Zealand to push it even further. I just wanted to
Well, all I really have to say to that is France, right? And look at what's happening to the Yellow Vest protesters, getting beaten by the police and shot with rubber bullets. That's what happens when your people have no guns, and the government has all the weapons and shit. Right? They don't fear it. Like I remember, I keep hearing this line. I think it's from that fat piece of shit. No offense to people who are obese, but that guy who makes those movies, those leftist movies, and he wears a hat and he has glasses.
Oh, Michael Moore.
Moore.
Pile of shit.
And he said, yeah, exactly, big pile of shit. And he said something. I think it was him. He's like, oh, in European countries, their leaders fear them. In our countries, we fear our leaders. I'm like, in America, he was saying, I'm like, really? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't have guns.
Yeah, but AJ,
like,
AJ
riot.
He's got a valid point though, AJ, because France is just the epitome of everything going right with the government and its people. And Theresa May has done a brilliant job on Brexit for the UK. So he obviously knows what he's talking about. Obviously.
Right.
She still have a job.
They have no guns.
How incompetent is that government to let her still have a job? Unbelievable.
It hurts. It hurts my brain. To answer Rant's question real quick, Rant, the National Transgender Discrimination Survey, for example, which surveyed the target sample of transgender individuals in the U.S. prior to 2015, the U.S. Trans Survey found that 83% of respondents identified as white, a much larger percentage than in the U.S. general population. So, in the latest one they did in 2019, I'm looking at the chart right now, the paper that was written on it, 55% of the transgender, all of them, identify as white. 16% identify as black, 21% Hispanic Latino, and 8% as other. So yeah, it's not about kids, but there you go. So you're probably right.
That the demographics are kind of correct then, aren't they?
Yeah,
like it's 55% white, and I think the other ones are pretty much
out of the ones they polled, 55% say they're white. Yes.
Of what?
They did a poll on 19 states of what transgender identified as, what race they identify as. Yeah. And 55 said they were white. I think it was like 32%, I think is what it said was black.
There are a bunch of Hispanics there that call themselves white, though.
Just take these trannies and put them on an airplane, because they're a massive problem to what's happening. Hold on. No, listen. You put them on a plane. You put them on a plane and you drop them off in the Middle East. And then you just see these bodies of these weird-looking guys. There's dropping over the Middle East, and we'll freak the shit out of these Middle Eastern people. Are like, what the fuck? They're dropping people out of the plane, and these guys just get up in the desert. You just hear the, Allah, you could come to me, and they start, they'll freak out. You solve the problem, or we bring in the Muslims. We bring in a ton of them and just watch the shit show fly. We'll bring them in and we'll get our lawn chairs and we'll bring up our signs. 4.5 landing.
Don't say anything that will get my channel
banned. Okay. I disavow.
Go to your channel and do that.
You have to text it like I divorce you 3 times, and then
I disavow. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding.
but actually, you don't even need to let the plane land. You could just put them on a Boeing 737 Max, and then it'll just take care of itself.
Well, I'm saying, give them parachute.
There you go.
Now, I think what we should do is put the transgenders, all of them, on a plane, send them to France, because there they will be appreciated.
Well, hold on a second. I think that transgender thing.
And they can help with the ambiance of the place.
You said what? 50. Fredrick. You said what? 50% were of white. Of them identify as white.
Yes.
No, that was Jamesy.
Yeah.
James, you said 50% in America.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And 19 states. Yes, sir.
They're America. So Americans they identify as what? 67% white, probably.
Well, all our stuff on race polls and all that stuff does white and white non-Hispanic is how they put them.
Right.
Because there's people out there that look white but are actually Hispanic, and there's people that don't consider themselves Hispanic that look Hispanic. So it's a big mess.
Well, Hispanic just has to do with language, right?
Well, it has more to do with how those people identify themselves in the polls rather than
there's
language.
Latino and Hispanic, right?
Yeah.
And like people, they can be Latinos. That's like, I can't remember the distinction or something, but like you can be Hispanic and white, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like you like full white. I can't or maybe you can be full white and Latino.
Yeah, no, it's I've met cats like that. Like if you give me if I go outside and get a really good tan. Okay, a perfect example. I got back from Kuwait, right? After 3 months in the desert. And I had such a good tan and my hair is so dark that when I walked around town, I had people that were Hispanic speaking Spanish to me, and I'm a white guy. So I had people confusing me.
You just say to them, "Es tu chicas más grandes tetas."
But if white people are 60-some% of the population, right, and whatever the Hispanic thing doesn't really matter, and then 50% of the people identify as trans or something that are white. I don't know the other numbers, but they are underrepresented.
Yeah,
in a sense, right? So if it could be black people are 13% and they represent 20%. I don't know, right?
So I'm on Wikipedia when I'm looking at census data from 2010. So the group, the way it breaks down is that the people, they have white non-Hispanic, which is 61.3% of the nation's total.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have now if you include the ones who are white Hispanics and Latinos, that becomes 76.9%.
Yes.
Blacks are about 12.7%. And then there's a number of other ones, Asians, and then of course Asians, that's a lot of different types of things. So that's about 4.8%. The Native Americans are 0.9%, Native Hawaiians 0.2%. People who say they are 2 or more races is 2.9%. Some other race, literally that's the category, is 6.2%. So, and then they also say Hispanic and Latino Americans of any race is about 16.3%. So that's kind of the percentage you take it out if you want to identify as Hispanic or Latino Americans of any race. That's 16.3%.
You want to watch sparks fly? Wait till more Latinos start coming south of the border, and then the blacks and the Hispanics will start to get into more major conflicts. They already are, right? Because the Hispanics are coming in working for less, and the blacks they're taking a lot of those low-skilled, low-wage jobs away from them. The intensity of the conflicts will start to increase. I mean,
there's a huge movement among black people that are against immigration, like American black people that are against illegal immigration, or like or even legal immigration. Like, we're not seeing it, but there's these people called the AOCW. I can't remember what they're fucking called. The black people, descendants of slaves, whatever. But they're trying to separate themselves from Caribbeans.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious.
Yeah, there's no limit to how much people will try and segment themselves into their own little tribe.
But this is kind of like a thing, like where they have a point in a sense that, like the affirmative action in America, right? It was for the black slaves, right? But you get Caribbeans, you get African immigrants coming and all kind of profiting off of that, and then they're seeing that, they're like, what the fuck? This is bullshit.
No, that's true. I think more pointedly that movement. I don't remember the acronym either, but they're looking to, as there's been conversations about reparations for slavery, the 40 acres and a mule that black people never got. That is where they're kind of saying, okay, now hang on a second. There's all these other black people here who aren't necessarily descended from slaves who were promised this 200 years ago, or 150 years ago, excuse me. We want to make sure that we get it because we're still oppressed and they don't.
But it was really funny. There was this black chick on Instagram and YouTube that was doing one of those DNA ancestry shit. And she found out that she was 50% white European. She started crying and then actually took that video down. It's like, come on. I remember my father once telling me, and I was like a big, Croatian jingoist. I'm a Croatian, blah, blah. And my dad said to me, shut the fuck up. You're a Canadian. You're not even close to being a Croat. So whatever.
Reparations for slaves and black people that were descendants of slaves. It's kind of funny when you think about it that they did nothing of the sort that their ancestors went through. So their ancestors actually took the brunt of the travel and the torture. They actually did them a favor by doing that so they could be in America.
Yep.
Really, I mean, I'd rather be in America myself no matter how I got there. So if my parents did that for me, shit. They
didn't have a choice, right?
Well, it's better like
but yeah, I know what you mean. Like, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the thing is, guys, is that for the last probably decade, I think, I've been a major backer of anything that gets rid of affirmative action in my country. I'm hugely against affirmative action.
Well, yeah, anybody with common sense.
Because the problem is that, okay, if we have all these groups that say we focus on race and we focus on abolishing racism, they're never going to abolish racism because one, that's their bread and butter. Secondly, you keep prioritizing the wrong fucking thing. If back in the 50s and 40s, did we have a problem with racism? Absolutely we did. Do we still have a problem with racism to any fucking close to the degree we used to? No, we don't. It's not even on the same goddamn planet. So the thing is all this shit they're instituting now does no one any good. It hurts people, and that's where you're getting to see a lot of this backlash from. This is where this whole fucking give us what do you guys call it?
A hand up?
Yeah, the handout shit about my daddy's daddy was a slave. Fuck off! I was never your slave owner, bitch, and you were never a slave.
Guys, I have the most oppression here. I am a Slav, and my people were slaves, so they named us Slavs as a collective. We have half of Europe. What are you talking about? I have the most oppression rights here. Okay, the Muslims took part of my family and converted them to Muslims. Like, come on, you need to give me money now.
Well, it comes down to just cultural Marxism, right?
Sorry, I was going to say we have the same thing happening in Canada right now. It's hire a minority in the government, and anybody that actually speaks fluent English and Canadian, if you will, or French and English, are being pushed out for other languages. Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually why the government is so inefficient right now. They spend all day trying to pronounce each other's names that are 6 syllables long. How the fuck?
Oh God! Don't even talk about that. Oh my God! My work is 90% Indian. It's like, hi, Srinivas Ranthaprapram. Can I call you George? No, you have to call me by my name. It's brutal, man. It's brutal.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is I think that the more you focus on, the more you have these groups. I think when these groups first started out, and to me they're a lot like unions. When these groups first started out, just like unions, they had a very good point. There was a very real need for them. They did a great job. They helped everybody get their shit together. They did wondrous things. Now it's like a cancerous fucking growth that stuck around for too long.
It's like
they really need to get flushed. They need to get flushed the fuck out.
Yeah, it's as if they're pro-segregation now. They want to be separated, and we're headed in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Well, they're headed in the right direction, honestly, in that sense, right? It's like, good. Now you're pro-segregation. We can have a discussion now about the values of homogenous societies, right? And you're like, hey, you want to live with yourself? I want to live with my people. We'll both be. No. You can't because you have white skin. You're not allowed to live amongst people. Well, you gotta be happy with the diversity.
Take them off Facebook.
Right. You know, it's like it's ridiculous. But you know, I want these people. I want people to you know, go ahead, fucking be with your people. Segregate. Great. I'm happy for you. You know. That's what we should all be doing at the end of the day. Like, I'm not a full like, I'm not like one of these people that are like, oh, I need to be around my white people because I don't feel secure or whatever, right? I don't mind some diversity, but you get so much hate today for being white and even like faintly trying to argue for your own interest. You get demonized for it. That you're like, fuck it. You know, it's like, no, fine. Like, I'm for segregation then. I'm for this because clearly it's too much work being with all these different cultures and their pressure on you to be like, oh, well, like that, the girls thing that I was talking about before that turned their back on Trudeau and walked out of Scheer. 6 of them wrote another article about it. I was going to do a story about it. And they were complaining about how they felt harassed because there were like 6 different girls that were, I don't know, Inuit and Black and Native, and they were saying that, like, oh, you know, this thing that was organized wasn't done well enough. We need to have you know, an Indigenous expert, a Black expert this next time, and they're making all these demands on like this group. And you're like, it just never ends with these people. They're never satisfied. They're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until there's nothing left, because that's all they do. They're useful little idiots that have been brainwashed, and they just go around deconstructing things. And I'm going to deconstruct Western civilization in society and everything you believe and you think that is good. Oh, that's actually racist. Oh, Christmas. Oh, that's actually racist, and your history is racist, and your Shakespeare is racist, and everything is racist to these people. But that's their plan. You know, that is their goal. Like, not the useful idiots. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. But the Frankfurt School, like I was saying before, before this stream, you know, they have subverted society for so long that, you know, we are just completely brainwashed. And that's the way, like, we'll always be easily brainwashed because, let's face it, the majority of people are stupid, and they will always be stupid, and that's never going to change unless we come up with new technology to increase our average IQ.
That's not the only problem. Our school is the problem.
On average, our average IQ worldwide is 87. Right. And yeah, school is a problem, but you know what? An Asian person, you can feed him all the food and water he wants. He's never going to be as tall as the average Black person or something. You know, you can only educate so much. Right. And then people have a limit. Right. And you can only fill up that, you know, limit. Maybe they haven't achieved their full potential, and that's good. We should educate people and all that stuff.
No, like today my daughter came home. She was telling me on the loudspeaker, because it was Pink Shirt Day, support the trannies, support the gays.
We fall for this stuff because we're stupid.
Right? No,
I didn't fall for it because I'm not stupid.
No,
right?
but they're little kids. They're little kids. It's grade school. They're little kids. They don't know better, right? They're moldable. So how do you prevent that? You have to have parents like me who blackpilled their children because they didn't wear their pink shirts.
Average, the rest and everybody else below them are dumber than them, right? What was that thing like George Carlin? You know, it's like most people have like our average intelligence, the rest are stupid. And that's the way, like, it's always going to be easy to manipulate, you know, people in the masses and stuff. Like it's actually not that easy. Like I said, it took 30, 40 years, like a slow crawl through our institutions, because it's not overnight that this stuff happened. People think like it's just, you know, it's overnight. Yeah, it's been pumped into our heads in school for years, in movies and Hollywood, TV, everything, you know. So, but go ahead.
No, what I'm saying today, my daughter came because they're black pilled, right? They're with me, and same with Chris's kids too. We watch them and listen to them carefully, ask them every day what's going on at school. But they were telling me that they were pumping on the loudspeakers. Diversity is our what's the saying? How does it go? Diversity is our what's it go? What is it? Strength, yeah. Diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. And you know, they laugh at it, right? They're actually now able, because of me, I'll sit with them and I'll run through chemistry and all of the other more STEM-like disciplines with my kids, and they're not even hitting those courses yet, but they're starting to open their minds. So now they have the tools to go against their grade school teacher, not necessarily against, but to start the debate. And often when they do, they get shut down and like, okay, let's switch the subject. So, but there's other parents that don't know better, right? And, you know, like a lot of these immigrants, like these Chinese that's mostly in my kids' schools, they don't know what's going on. They don't talk to their kids. So there's your future liberals, right? Yeah. There's your future stormtroopers. And as it gets worse and worse. And just to bring in an example of how shit can go south, think about the natives. They're only 5% of the population in Canada right now. Think about what's going. They're on the verge of disappearing. They're finished. Per se. As we start to bring in more cultures like the Muslims, the Indians, and the Chinese, all those people will not look at any degree. Once the whites start to disappear, we start going below 40%. We will not have much say in the political sphere. There'll be policies, and they will not support any of the Indians anymore. They will let them die out. And this is
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and this is the danger, because that's a perfect real-time example of what happens. They are no longer viable as a society because they just don't have enough of mass to have the different tradespeople, the different office people that's required to run a town even. So if our numbers start to drop, these people are these natives that take white people for granted, constantly bitching about us, but then holding up their hand when in need. When we're gone, wait till what happens to them, right? And same for other groups too.
Well, yeah, that's what's going to be the eventual outcome. But first of all, I just want to say thank you for the super chat, Can. $5 you donated a little bit earlier. I really appreciate that. And also, if anybody else wants to hop on, let me know. I'm going to put the Discord link, and also you can follow me on IDW. You can maybe go there and I can send you the link. And James, I might ask you to jump off sort of soon to make a little bit of room for other people. You know, it's getting a little bit crowded here. But thanks for coming along, man. I really appreciate it. You made it more lively.
I may actually take off myself there too, AJ.
Okay.
Get late, so
yeah, it's getting pretty late, but good thing we started the stream a bit earlier, right?
Thanks for coming, Rants. Thanks for coming,
Thanks a lot, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was good talk.
Show your channel.
What's that?
Everybody knows Rants Derek.
he's one of the biggest
Actually, don't go to his channel. He's a racist.
Rants, post your link in the chat or something on the stream or something so I can go to your channel.
Yeah.
Dude.
Okay, yeah. I'll post that shit there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
One moment here. But yeah, if anybody else wants to hop on too, you know, you can stick on, I guess, a little bit longer. I was just trying to make up some room here because
my link for my channel is in the chat now. So if anybody wants that, that's there.
Don't go there. Don't subscribe.
Okay, guys.
I'm joking.
Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, Derek, for dropping by, man.
Yeah, thanks for answering.
All right,
One
so
second, guys.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get it final.
Okay.
Just gonna put it in the link here.
Yeah, I see Lauren. I don't know if is that the real Lauren Southern.
No.
No, it's not the real Lauren Southern.
I was wondering.
Yeah, no, she watches my channel all the time.
Yeah, Fredrick, what the hell?
I thought she like, blew off of
you. I keep asking her to promote me, but she doesn't. And I'm like, you got like 1 million subscribers. And
I know.
Fred, you boomer, you need glasses. It's Lauren Southern, not Lauren.
I don't know. Maybe she.
Jeez.
But it's the same thing.
Blonde.
Oh my gosh.
All right, AJ, I'm gonna hop off. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for having me on, guys. Loved it, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Let me get the
listen, Fred, I'm gonna go down to Shoppers Drug Mart or Rexall and get you a pair of cheaters, okay? You can wear them so you can see what's on your screen there.
I'm gonna throw the link just in the chat there, makes it easier for people if they didn't join. Oh, let me see here. It's Discord. Okay, nobody is in there right now. A couple people. But yeah, anybody just hop on whenever. Doesn't really matter. I don't really care. Soon she will, AJ. But yeah, I got a couple more stories that we can bring up. Were you saying anything there though, Chris or Fredrick, that before I interrupted you? Hello.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, not really.
Okay, I thought I did it. I thought I interrupted you there. My bad.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But here's this. Go ahead.
So I don't know if anyone's read that article about that Israeli lawmaker that was talking about being that the Jewish race was the smartest in the world.
Yeah, well, they always say shit like that, so it's nothing new. They're always like, we're amazing. We made look at all our Nobel Peace Prizes and all this stuff.
Here's the thing, though. I think I'm trying to avoid allowing myself to be triggered by one person's opinion that gets blown across the internet. Still one guy.
Yeah.
Not the opinion of the. I mean, it probably is the opinion of the country based on Bibi Netanyahu and whatever else. Fine. Maybe he's just bringing to the surface what. Actually, no, it is what they believe. But in this case, but a lot of things happen. People make a comment about something, and it's one person's comment. And yes, of course, there's more than one person who believes it. But it's like, okay, well, is it like a company?
No, but I'm just saying it's a pattern of some people to do that. But yeah, I agree with you. It's obviously that people don't all think that. I don't think we need to put not all after every sentence and stuff. I think most people here are pretty intelligent. They understand that it's not all Jewish people or anything like that talks about that, but it's just funny to see but that's the thing with each group. Everybody's allowed to tout how great they are, other than white people.
That's fair.
Everybody's allowed to say, we're so amazing and we're so great, and the only people that aren't allowed to do that is white people, because it's going to lead to Nazism or something like that, right? And I don't mind, I guess, necessarily people do that. Whatever, have pride in yourself, in your group, in your race, whatever. I don't give a shit. But yeah, that doesn't bother me. I wouldn't do a story about that or anything, because it's like, yeah, you know what you mean. It's one guy's opinion and shit.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's one guy's opinion. I think the country shares that opinion. I think there's a lot of people in the US that share that too, right?
Well, yeah, probably, right? Damn it. I had this video up before. It was armed.
There's another article I saw this week in the National Post. It might have actually been today, where I guess the government is finally acknowledging that China is a threat to Canada's national security. Interesting.
Well,
still not the bad Huawei equipment, but anyways. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they've been talking about that for a while. Like, I don't know why. There was, I think 10 years ago, there was somebody saying that there was Chinese nationals in the government.
And so
working in
that
the
was
government.
the CSIS director at the time. And he was paid for his service by being shouted down by politicians who are being paid off by those Chinese operatives he was referring to, and basically got shouted down and, you know, was asked for his resignation. And so there's been multiple reports in the past about this kind of thing as regards to the Chinese. And each time it's pushed down as, you know, oh, you're being hateful, you're being jealous, you're being racist. But again, this is people, foreign governments know how to use our nonsense rhetoric against us. So they know how to rile up the people. They know how to manipulate Facebook or not, you know, elections or not. They know how to do this. They're pulling from the playbook that the Americans and Western governments have used in their countries for years.
They called us white supremacists, China, didn't they? Like 6 months ago.
Exactly. And that's the kind of rhetoric they'll share on internal social on WeChat and other social networking sites, which riles up their people to then go and say, okay, well, there are people who are here, and then say to our elected officials, well, you know, you're anti-Chinese, you're whatever. And then Fred and I in past chats have talked that we live in a suburb that's very Chinese in the Toronto area. And in a region like this, where, you know, literally the majority of the city is Chinese, literally about 60-70%, that's not a voting block that a politician can ignore. So whether they're Chinese or not. So if they want to keep their job, regardless of what the truth is. So yeah, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting that somebody's actually come out and said it. But it's one thing for for a law enforcement agency to say it. It's another thing for legislation to be put in place to protect the people. And I mean, certainly Canada's been hung out to dry with this whole Huawei CEO or CFO nonsense that's been going on, this extradition piece. The Americans have definitely...
Don't talk about it or Trudeau will sue you.
Yeah. And basically Trump is leveraging this whole thing to help him with his trade deal with China and leaving Canada out to dry. So that's great. That's the elephant in the mouse, right? America and Canada.
But I love how Trudeau's poll numbers, I guess, you know, have been slightly affected. So he's like so mad at Scheer. He's like, I'm going to sue you.
Yeah. Yeah. For the SNC-Lavalin piece. But even there, when I saw that, I was like, good. Please sue him so we can get some discovery. And, you know, then you'll have to turn over documentation and everything. Please sue him. And actually, Scheer, unlike he was reading my mind, which he probably was, thanks to Google and my ID and everything being in the they probably chipped me a long time ago. But anyways, for reading my mind, he tweeted and said, "Yes, please sue me, please. That way we can get Canadian people some answers."
So this is romper room tactics. You know, children behaving in a play area with other people's wallets and money. This nothing's going to come out of this. This is all just fucking bullshit, really.
Is this our version of the Mueller report?
Basically, yeah. You know, like them egging each other on, and you know, in this sense, you know, some liberals might look at Trudeau as saying, look, actually he truly believes that he's innocent. Otherwise, why would he throw that? But this is all just game and tactics. It's like, again, what's the left hand doing what instead of the right hand?
Yep. Any analysis of the budget, of Trudeau's budget?
Well, there have been several. Which ones specifically are you talking about?
I have to admit, I didn't really follow it too closely.
Well, he's giving
money away.
Were there any highlights out of it? Anything that?
Well, he's forgiving loans to natives. I can't find any specifics on that. What kind of loans? He's like contractual loans. He's given money to, obviously, to Loblaws. That's nothing new. He's given 1.8 million to boost up the immigration officers on the front lines there at Roxham Road and other places, and to fast track people coming in, which is really bullshit. It's really to fast track people coming in. He's awarded more money. There was one more group that he awarded money to. I can't remember right now. But anyways, he's not really, nothing in the budget really supports the middle class. I mean, that's what he won in one of his election promises, was to lower taxes on and you and I know, being contractors, that wasn't the case. He's raised taxes for us.
I don't believe he actually promised to lower taxes. I think what I remember him saying was that he was going to bring the deficit, bring us, not to missing the term, but basically he's going to eliminate the deficit within an unspecific amount of time. And of course he's jacked up the deficit to $20 billion.
Never. Yeah, he's never going to eliminate the deficit. He's going to keep pushing it on, because the way that these Paul Krugman type economist thinking people is like, oh, debt can just go on forever. It doesn't matter. Oh, whatever. Yeah. We can keep racking up the debt, and they don't care. Yeah, they don't give a shit. Yeah. They only care when they're in the opposition, and then they can say, oh, the debt is bad. And I always laugh whenever I hear liberals talk about spending and stuff, and I'm like, you don't care. You literally don't care at all. Yeah. You don't care. You think money is infinite. You think it grows on trees, and you think we can just keep creating debt indefinitely to pay for shit. So, fuck you. I don't like. But yeah, his recent budget is shit. Yeah. Or his that he's releasing to people, and it was just a buy off.
That's right.
Because of all the recent fuck ups he's done. Yeah. And the one thing that might come out of the whole SNC 11A scandal is probably to do with Jane Phillip and Jody Wilson. Yeah, Philip or Philpott.
Yeah, who's actually my MP. So there you go.
Well, all her people resigned as well underneath her, or something like that, right? And then Jody Wilson, Ray Bould, and that doesn't look good for the Liberals, and that will probably siphon some of their support away or something like that. But I don't even, like I said, I'm not ecstatic about Scheer, so I'm not even really. I don't care. I'm just kind of observing, but it's
another MP that quit bad for him, because of SNC 11, but they quit about a few weeks ago. Selena Chavez or something, who's an MP in the Eastern GTA, quit ahead of those two. So there's been a few, but I think it's close enough to the election that it might make a bit more of a difference than if it happened like in Trudeau's first year and people just kind of forgot about it. So we'll see. It depends on Scheer and the opposition and Max and everybody. To keep reminding people.
It's such a bogged down thing that people will forget about it. It's not going to be something, and it's not that even I want it to be in the news forever. It's, if people don't get it already, they're not gonna fucking get it. You know what I mean? They're either apathetic, or they don't care. They're biased, or they're dumb. One or the other, right?
You have one more. It could be just information overload. People are trying to live day by day. I have sometimes a problem. I need to decompress from work, and I come home and I read stupid shit like that. My blood starts to boil, and I want to smash one of my TVs in half. Just when I read.
I agree, but you're already woke in a sense, right? I mean, it is an overload for you, but I mean, for the people, it's an overload for them. But I mean, if they didn't get it for the first week that Trudeau is has red hands, is guilty as charged, and with all the accusations and stuff, you're not gonna fucking get it.
The same thing happened.
I don't even care about the whole pressuring thing. The thing that I was mad about was changing the law in order to, the bill, that they proposed in 2018. Yeah. That's what people should be focusing on. Yeah. But the conservatives aren't focusing on that. Yep. They should be focusing on that because they know what their response is going to be. Yeah. They know that the Liberals are going to be like, well, how come you didn't speak up about it then? Yeah. Eh? And they're going to be like, Yeah. So they fuck themselves. And I can't even watch them. I'm just like, man, what are you doing? You guys
so it could be another moment of collusion between the two fucking parties. Because remember, these people have tea and biscuits together when they're on their lunch breaks. Now, don't forget. No,
it's that they also want to utilize the same thing, the law, to pay off their own buddies, right? So it's not necessarily collusion. They're more like, I like that bill too. I could use it to pay off some of my buddies as well, or give them a deferred prosecution agreement, right?
Well, how many times has there been a law that someone decried as terrible during the campaign, and then they get into office and it's like, oh, that's actually useful? Anybody remember who was it? Was it Cringe who said he was going to get rid of the GST? I think it was Cringe or the Prime Minister before Cringe. And it's still here. In fact, it's even bigger. You have the HST now, except in some provinces. So, I mean, he's like, we got in the office. Like, well, hey, the money, it comes in handy for things, We like to waste it on Quebec.
No, but there's been collusion. So look, let me talk for a sec. So there during the Wynne government, there was negotiations with the mining workers in Northern Ontario to maintain and hold their jobs and to raise salaries because a lot of them were dying in the mines. So they ran on supporting unions, but they more so on the teacher side. But when it came to supporting these miners who were digging, giant holes in the ground and dying from it earlier in age, the Conservatives worked with the Liberals to bust that union up to put it up for sale internationally. So what you may think that there's a lot of talk, and I always want to make people aware of all of the bullshit that's gone down before and people forget, because the news cycle moves so fast, people just can't fucking remember it all. Like, remember Orange, Chris? Remember Chris Matza, who had funneled millions of dollars into his pockets, and that idiot waitress that he met in some Panama hump bar, and they were taking the money and scooping it from Ontario taxpayers, and that went away. Then there was the gas plant scandal, but also at the same time the Conservatives were doing the same shit, right? People can't continue to store that in their hard drive. So you really need to look at it from this perspective. All politicians at all levels are garbage, because if maybe 2 out of the 10 are good, I don't care. I have to take you with the laws of averages and say that you're all scum and I don't trust any of you. That's hard to swallow, because you want change, right? But that's my mode of operandi, which is I meet a politician, I instantly discount you for everything that I can think of, because in the past I've been burned, right? For those who shall fail you, shall always fail you in the least. And that's what happens with politicians. So people can't digest, and the news cycle moves so fucking fast. We jump from one scandal to another scandal, like you giving $12 million to a rich family, and in the same time they're saying in the verbiage there, why they're giving the money away, saying that Canadians have felt the effects of climate change. Felt what effects?
And they were caught price fixing as well. Which cost people like millions and millions of dollars over time, and they're like, oh, we're gonna reward you by giving you $12 million, and like that's just like the tip of the iceberg, you know what I mean? Like there's way more money that's given to other companies and corporations for just stupid reasons like that, and that's once again you see. I'm like, that's how monopolies are fucking created and shit. It's this constantly giving money to these companies, and then they go and they work. Like, first of all, like our ex-mayor in Winnipeg, Sam Cates, he's now working for like this company Terracon, or whatever, and he was giving them contracts during his when he was like as a mayor, and now he's like it just came out today that him and then they bought like some property in, I forget, Mexico or some country or something together, and just and then they also sold him a company for like $1, and you're like, oh my god, like it's so crooked and dirty. And now
you look at the marijuana legislation and how the guys who were literally prosecuting and enforcing the laws, guys like Bill Blair and Julian Fantino here in Ontario, and who moved to the federal level to be ministers of public safety, security, and not minister of justice, but enforcement. As soon as this stuff was starting to go illegal, you basically quit. They basically quit. They decided to become board members. And don't worry, AJ, I'll let you give your props in a second. Actually, maybe you take a break and give a thank you for what you just got in your chat.
Catman don't 100 to block old white guy or not.
Holy shit!
I have to do it. Wow. Thank you.
You got to give the people what you want. So old white guy, catch you on
$100,
Saturday.
man. That's huge, man. Thank you for that. That's the largest donation I've ever received, man.
I'm gonna show my channel right now. So it's just come to Fredrick Godzilla Menckin.
Wow.
I hope to see you on the chat on Saturday.
Hey, you know what? I might as well show my channel. It's got one video you can focus on. 2 weeks old, but you
no, like old white guy, be sure to come on the Saturday stream.
Wow.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna, you know what? Next time,
what if that was a mistake? What if it was meant to be $10?
Yeah. Oh man, next time old white guy gets on my nerves, I'm gonna block him for sure, man. Just for you.
We'll just start by taking away his wrench, and then slowly reduce his privileges.
The chat wants me to ban you. That's what they're asking.
Then you're going to see OWG2 in the chat.
You see, there's a proof example that people can be bought to do things that's against their will.
No, you have to
at least. White guy, AJ, you got to give the people what they want here. They gotta. No. Universally,
old white guy is worth at least $150 to me. At least, you know, he's from Manitoba, from my country, of my future country of Manitoba Stan. You know,
there's Jerry saying ban or refund it.
We got to do this auction style, right? Because going, hey, $100, got to hear $200.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys want old white guy gone, start giving me like a 200 and 300. It's like
old white guy is worth at least $500 to me.
Nation, though, that's crazy. Largest one. The donor is
got banned. Did old white guy ban the donor? You gotta take away his wrench.
What the hell?
Is there another one?
No way, man. No. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
Wow. You really want to ban? You really want to ban? Oh my God!
You got to do it, or you got to refund it, man.
100, another $100 from Catman. Don't 100, man. Thank you. Wow, I'm very grateful, man.
Give the people what they want.
I'm he's putting me in a tough spot here. Putting me in a tough spot.
The free market, all right? They paid for a service. So keep your politics out of it and give the man what he paid for. Give the person what they paid for.
Oh my God!
Don't be like Uber. Don't be like Uber and stuff. You know, arbitrarily banning people and making up the rules. Are they paid for a service? Delivered a service.
I gotta take away his wrench.
You caught in a rock in a hard place. I mean, this is very political here right now. So we're watching this in real time.
Take the time out off of Catman Don't to 100. Okay. Just because, look, I mean, this guy's obviously a VIP. You know,
so a wrench. So are you going to now take the lobbyist money or what?
Oh my God! See, wow,
it's already in his account. What else is he going to do?
$2. Ban him. Oh my God!
Fred, it's already in his account. What else is he supposed to do? I mean, it's there. I mean, what else is he going to do? Just,
by the way, go to old white guy's channel.
We got another one banned. Oh, dude. Power of money.
Old white guy.
Okay, maybe at least time him out for a little bit, okay? Just, you know.
Message deleted by Haze. What the hell? How do you delete the fucking message on a super chat?
I know, that's weird.
What the fuck?
Wait, old white guy. Oh, you deleted the message, but you didn't delete the money. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Take the money.
Boingo Bear saying hold out for bigger bucks.
What else are you supposed to do with it? Who knows?
There's old white guy's channel. We'll go back on his promise like Trudeau, or will he ban? Oh my God. I never promised him anything. I never promised I would do anything. Oh my
Let's give
God.
a white guy a timeout, you know, just kind of meet him in the middle. An uneasy compromise that ticks off everybody like a good politician.
Oh my God. I can be bought. Yeah, everybody can be bought. Don't act like you're better than me.
Okay.
Don't act like you can't be bought.
Okay, let me change the topic a little bit to take a little bit of heat off it. Lauren Southern, I noticed, said 150. Do I hear 200? Technically, we already have 200. $202. I'd like to keep that up to 5, but you know,
it's such a pimp, man.
Hey, I think we got a lot of people here. We got how many people are watching this video? Like 50 people. You know, it's like what $10 a head.
Right. Oh yeah, it's cheap. You know, everybody just
donate wages up here in Canada, right? So we all make that at least that much. So there you go. One thing I wanted to mention about campaigns and things. As I mentioned, I was watching that Brexit movie today, so it got me thinking about the connections between certain successful campaigns from a populist standpoint, like Trump's campaign, Rob Ford's campaign in Toronto, Doug Ford's campaign in Ontario, Brexit, I'd say, and the common link, a lot other than the politics, but in terms of the actual campaign style, was a very simple and direct message that really captured people's frustration and anger with certain situations to kind of help get the vote. That was repeated over and over again. So it's not like we're going to do all these things and go into detail about all this. Very simple and direct. When you looked at Trump's profile, Trump's campaign stuff during the campaign, I know Fred and I used to go over it together sometimes. And very simple white papers, like just like a page and a half. The people kind of laugh at him for, but it was just very, very simple. And why go into tremendous detail? Because as soon as you get into government, the plan changed anyway. So just here's the high level of what we're going to do. And there you go. That's what we're trying to do. I know Doug Ford was criticized for not having a lot of focus, a lot of detail as well, but he focused on like the scandals of the Liberal government in Ontario for years and years and years. And that was really his focus there as well. And then what do you call it? And then Doug Ford again focused on the debt and corruption, and the Brexit as well. Very, very simple and direct message. So I mean, we all agree that the whole liberal conservative duopoly here in Canada, might as well be Rogers, Bell, and Telus and cell phone plans in terms of just you switch to one or the other and there's no change. So anybody who's going to come in and attempt to shake up the system has to look at the examples, like ignore these traditional politicians, and look at the examples of these successful disruptive campaigns that have happened in recent years, and follow that example. Kind of key into what that anger was, or what the frustration is of the people, and you have a very simple, direct message that you repeat over and over again. Don't let yourself get taken off message, and stay very focused, regardless of what mud they sling at you. And there you go. So,
right, it's like Trump. Like Trump, that's what he did, right? He did that perfectly. He invigorated so many people with his words and just coming out and saying, and look at the media. They attacked him immediately. He called Mexicans rapists and this and that. And look, he won.
People who listened to what he said, he said a lot more than that. Like it wasn't necessarily just, he called racist. He said, they're not sending their best people. Some people are good, but they're not sending their best people. And I think that resonated with a lot of folks who were looking around and being like, So who a lot of people feel that way. He didn't just come up with that stuff out of his head. He's, Trump. If you look at the history of Trump's candidacy, he has been thinking about this, studying about it. He's written several books about it for a long time. I would say probably 30 years. Even interviews with them in the early 80s, talking about a lot of the same issues you talked about during the campaign, because nothing has changed in 30 or 40 years. So it's just only gotten worse. So he said, I remember there was an interview he did with Barbara Walters in the early 80s. And she asked him if he's going to run for president one day. When he's talking about politics, he said, the country would have to get to a really bad state for me to actually do that, because my life is good. My life is good. I have freedom. I have this and that. I would need to really see the country go to a bad state for me to actually put my name in the hat and run for president. And I guess it got to that point where he just kind of said, it's time to do it. Whether he believed he would win or not is a different story. But yeah.
So we were sorry to just do a quick pivot. I was asked in the chat here about Doug Ford, if he's still going to get rid of the same-sex education.
He's just changing the age.
Yeah, I haven't heard otherwise that he's really doing any major changes. He's still focused on making that change from what it used to be.
Yeah, he's just moving the age out where that stuff will be taught. Faye, I see in the chat there as well. So I don't know that the new curriculum has been finalized yet, but the plan is that he will, the age at which some of that sex ed stuff was going to be taught will be moved much later. When I say much later, I mean a few years later in the child's development. So I don't know if that's 100% done, but they're not teaching the new curriculum that was approved last year or two. He's approving. He's still using like the old curriculum with a few tweaks, and then they're going to roll out the new stuff. Maybe in September. I don't know. So, but to Jesus Gonzalez's point, a lot of teachers are really fighting against it, though.
Oh no, they're still teaching it. I told you I had an argument with my school's principal, and she's adamant, and she's still refusing to backtrack, and she's still teaching it. But I pulled my kids out of school that day, and it's like, all right, you want to teach it? My kids are coming out, so screw you.
They're full of. Our education system is just full of fucking Marxist. It's like, or they don't even know it half the time, but like. Yeah, it's disgusting what they're pushing kids through. And like, I remember a while ago when I think it was a bunch of school students that were protesting abortion in America. And, the media, they're all kind of laughing at it. They're like, they were in school and they had to go out and protest. And, it's not a grassroots thing, blah, blah, blah. But, the same is with a lot of these protests that happen too. They're just like, hey, you want to go out for half an hour protest, not go to school, and they convince them it's like a good thing, and you're like saving the planet by doing it, and you're like, oh, you want to go make a difference, kids? Well, if you don't want to make a difference, you could stay here in class and do homework. But all the kids that want to go help the planet survive, because we're all going to die in 12 years, come with me and put pressure on the politicians and whatnot. And yeah, they're just turning them into their little goons. And we're becoming like 1984, literally, where you can't even trust your own children because, if you're not a good parent and paying attention to what they're learning and stuff, if you're, you're not really paying attention to your kid, and then they come home and they're like, they'll call you to the state and they'll be like, oh, he said this, or, or they'll report you to people. Like it's getting crazy. Like it's almost a cliche, but the 1984 thing it seems more and more true each and every single day with like,
I wonder if they still read 1984.
Go ahead.
I wonder if they still read 1984 and Brave New World. I mean, this is where I was in Ontario, where I'm from. We read books like 1984 and Brave New World when I was in high school. This very dystopian view of exactly the kinds of stuff we're seeing there. I wonder if they still read those books, or if they're out of date or sexist, and so they replace them with something.
Well, there's also more women, right, teaching today than there used to be men.
Right.
Like I noticed in the kids' school, it's mostly women.
Well,
there's like one guy in the gym class, and he's gay.
I read 19. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
It's always been mostly women teaching. It's like nursing.
No,
no, that's not necessarily true.
Nope.
If you think about even in historic times, obviously, it was like pretty much all men. You'd never have women teaching and shit. But like, the Greeks and whatnot. But even not long ago, like 50 years ago or 60, like there was a lot more men in schools, and they've done studies and they found that like women will score men and boys lower if they know it's a boy, but if they do it like a blind thing, they give them like a regular score. So, there's a lot of just natural prejudice that some of these women will have that go into these schools that have against boys or something that, you know, they're not really gonna, you know, what happens to kids these days in school is like the women expect the boys to act like girls. So then they're like, oh, here, take these drugs. Here, take ADHD medication so you can sit still and listen. But, you know, that's like so many kids are getting diagnosed with that, but it's just because the school is lazy or the parents are lazy and stuff. And sometimes you legitimately do have it, right? Sometimes you legitimately do have ADHD, but a lot of the times she's like, just here, give them drugs. And, you know, we wonder why so many people are addicted to all these prescription drugs today, because we've been giving it to them since they were like 3-4 years old or like 6 years old. And we don't know what that's going to do to their brain and their development, because there's we're all just test subjects, because there is no case study there is no study to compare. Oh, we know what this drug does to 30 years down the road. No, it's like we don't. We're just, you know, the guinea pigs, the test subjects, right? But yeah, I guess that's good and bad in some way. I guess we have more advances. Go ahead.
Thinking about the mix of teachers, I've seen some comments in the chat that's kind of jogging my memory. It's been a while since I thought about school. So in the junior grades for me, and I grew up in the Toronto area. I was going to school. I went to Catholic school from junior kindergarten to grade 3. Then I went to public school from grade 4 until grade 13, because we used to have grade 13 here in Ontario. And it just took us, with the bagged milk, it just took us a little bit longer to get through high school than the rest of the country. But anyways,
bagged milk.
Yeah, it makes us a little bit slower than the rest.
I'm going to call the rest of Canadians bag drinkers. You bag drinker. You know, like, that's my new insult.
You stacked up. Well. Anyway, so my point.
He's a flat roofer in a flat province.
That's what they had put their milk in flat boxes, something like that.
Yeah, you're gonna make a limerick there or something.
Well, no, not at all. It's just like if you want to do anything, you just
flat province with a flat.
Anyways, so my point was that in my junior grades, I had very few male teachers in primary grades, and then when I got to middle school, so that's grades 7 and 8, I started to have way more male teachers, like probably about 50-50. And then high school was probably a little bit more male than female, but I think it also depended on the courses you were taking too. But I mean, I took drama one semester, and I had a male drama teacher for that semester. And my music teachers were half male and half female. So I did a lot of artsy stuff in high school, and it was a good mix. It wasn't like all female. I wonder though, Fred, and I'm not sure if the mix was a little bit different for you, because you're a little older than me. You know, there's boomers here.
I'm not a boomer, man. I'm an ex-genner.
I'm gonna get you those cheaters, okay? So you can read your screen, okay? No problem.
Not that there's anything wrong with boomers either, but that, you know, I'm an ex-genner.
You know what?
You friggin' millennials, man. You drive me nuts, honestly.
Anyways, so I don't know if it was a little different for you, but so yeah. I mean, I wonder if some of these, to your point about the test scoring, for boys, I wonder if some of these women, because we know that there's a number of single parents who are going, the amount of single parenthood is going up. I wonder if some of them grew up in single parent households where it was just their mom, so they didn't really have that father figure interaction, and so there's a bit of bias against boys in some of that. Just because they never had it at home, and then when they went to school, they studied women's courses, women's studies, taught by women. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Guys,
I think a lot of the women that didn't have fathers are probably like prostitutes and.
Okay,
didn't get into school, but I think the school is also something that kind of they probably have no issue with boys until they go to university and then learn shit about, like, I don't know, how to teach boys or something like that, right? And maybe that's the right way, and some women. Maybe do have
course made by a woman and taught by a woman and everything about how to teach boys. Got it.
Right. All right, guys. I want to share something here on the screen. I want to read this to you. It's related, right? But Let's cut it in your.
Hey Fred, Jerry wanted to know what was World War II like.
No, that's not the boomers, Jerry. That's the greatest generation. That's just a year or two after the war. Fred was born after the war, but just like slightly after the war, so he doesn't really fall into that generation.
I created the grunge scene, the angry young people, the ones that are all woke.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna share something here. All right, let's switch. This is in the West, in Alberta, because they're such cowboys now that they've turned into Brokeback Mountain, Brokeback Dick. Lethbridge rally held to support GSA's oppose UCP education plan. Can you tell me, is that the United Conservative Party? What is UCP? I'm not sure what that is. Do you know?
That's for Alberta.
That's the party in Alberta. Okay.
The Conservative Party. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. So more than 100 people turned out to a rally at City Hall in Lethbridge on Tuesday to support gay straight alliances and LGBTQ kids. This is very concerning to me, this piece here. GSA's clubs meant to provide a safe space at school for gay students are a contentious Alberta election issue, particularly between the NDP and the Conservative Party. Currently, the law says teachers cannot tell parents if their child has joined the GSA. UCP leader Jason Kenney said if his party is elected, he would let teachers decide if parents need to be informed about their child being in a GSA if they believe that child health and safety is at risk. Think about that for a moment. A conservative party that believes in small government, which is usually Christian-based, is allowing government civil servants to decide and dictate what and what they will not to tell you as a parent what's going on at school.
So I hear what you're saying about this, Fred, and I hear what you're saying from that perspective. But as it turns, but to me, it's still a big improvement over what they have today, where they can't tell the parents at all for any reason about the kids and if they're involved with what they're involved with. That I think is, as a parent, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. If something is going on with my kid and the people who see my child for 6-7 hours a day have a concern, I want to know so I can try and address that at home. So right now, the teachers are barred from doing that. So I think that this is a major improvement over what they have today. And as them being civil students, guess what? They're in a public school. So if I'm opting to put my child in public school, that's part of what I have to deal with as civil servants. I can't trust my kid because kids lie all the time. So I need a third party sometimes to tell me what's going on. So
I'm just gonna put a yarmulke. What's that Jewish hat that is it called a yarmulke on my kid's head and just say they're Jewish. They're not allowed to attend these types of courses, and you have to inform me.
Hey, they're Muslim.
Oh, even Muslim. Yeah, I'll dress my daughter as a ninja. Yeah.
Right.
Trust my daughter.
But the thing is though, Fred, the way that these things work, and if you remember in Ontario, when a similar debate was going on, which sunk down when John Tory, as I've told you before, the conservatives in Ontario, and probably across the country, but in Ontario in particular, keep finding ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. There's a reason the Liberals were in power for 15 years in Ontario. And when John Tory, our current mayor in Toronto, was the PC leader, he was doing very well in the polls. And then he fell into a trap. And it related to curriculum changes as well as gay straight alliances here in Ontario. And what the Liberals did is they ended up saying, because the Catholic schools didn't want the gay straight alliances because they're Catholic schools, they're Christian schools, and they didn't want necessarily the gay straight alliances mandated. And then what ended up happening, the Liberals rammed it down their throats and said, you need to have, every school needs to have, of a certain age, needs to have gay straight alliances, regardless of whether if you're getting public money, you need to have a gay straight alliance. So they basically rammed it down everyone's throat, Christian.
Yeah.
And
there was a Catholic law school that wasn't given accreditation because they had in their code of conduct, like relation is between a man and a woman or something like that.
Yep.
And just that alone, it wasn't even like heavily enforced or anything like that. It's not like they were going to your house and being like, "Are you taking it in the ass?"
Yeah.
But you know, they didn't do that. It was just kind of code, and then they had to change it, otherwise they wouldn't have got accreditation, right?
Yeah, I think it was Trinity Western School out in Alberta.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The thing that gets me about things like that, AJ, whether it be that or there was that baker in Denver who wouldn't make a cake for a gay couple and it wound up going to the Supreme Court, and the baker ended up winning after all of that nonsense. But it's like, this isn't the only place you can go. Like when you're actually going to a private institution like a university or a place of business, this isn't the only place you can go. Like there are other places you can go to school. There are other places you can get a cake. Like just take your business elsewhere and punish the business by not giving them your business.
Well, they're trying to change the law with case law, right? So that's their whole
exactly.
It
wasn't
I understand how the game is playing, but I'm just saying that if you're really, you know, that interested in it, because at the end of the day,
they're not. They don't give a shit.
No, they don't.
They just try to change the law. You know, that's it. They you know, it
had nothing to do with the cake. They wanted to do that on purpose. I mean, Steven Crowder did something.
They're very well funded as well. But
remember, Steven Crowder did a little skit where he would walk into these Muslim bakeries and dressed up all gay, and he was saying, "Oh, you know, can you please bake a cake and put two men together?" And the guy was like, "No, I can't do that. I can't do that." Yeah, it's all bullshit, right? But really, if these Christians were smart, they would bake a cake, but just make it shitty. So what are you going to do now? What are you going to argue? They baked us a shitty cake. Yeah, we don't know how to make a good cake.
Because it's the principle of the matter, right? It's like I should have freedom of association, you know, especially, you know, with my religious beliefs and stuff. But clearly, you see that their rights, you know, often will trample our rights, especially in Canada, right? Like, you know, you'll have our freedom of speech here comes second to trampling on people's dignity, right? Like that's, you get charged $50,000 for stupid shit like that. There's like that guy with the tranny here, and it's like, oh, you harm their dignity, and you're like, are you kidding me? I have to pay you money now, the Human Rights Tribunal.
Sure,
it's crazy.
Well, I mean, if these SJWs are really interested in making social justice and changes, then they would apply the same standards to Muslim businesses, to Sikh businesses, to Hindu businesses, because there ain't one religion that likes gays, not one. So they can go to any one of those places with their cakes or whatever else nonsense they want to do, and go after all of them instead of saying, well, you know, Christians are bad, but you know, we have to respect, you know, the Muslims, and you know, hey, let's dress in a hijab, you know, to support the women's right to choose to wear them. Okay, great, right? Yeah, okay, thanks.
Right, and like, you know, the people they know, like there's a lot of, like I said before, like useful idiots and stuff that just believe in the hierarchy of oppression that is taught to them, and then they apply it in real time, and then they, you know, kind of see the results eventually of that. But, you know, the people on top, like pushing that stuff, like they know more of like the effects. They know that putting Muslims and gays together isn't a good idea, but it's just going to create division. It's going to create more chaos, and that's what they want. That's what these cultural Marxists want. They just want to import chaos into our countries, and they know that Muslims don't integrate very well. They don't like gays. They don't like any of the degenerate shit that we're pushing in our society, right? And I'm not saying I'm against gay people, and I think we should ban gay people like Muslims and shit, but it shouldn't be promoted the way it is, especially with 11-year-old boys dancing in front of gay people and getting money thrown at him, doing it sexually and suggestively. That's disgusting. That's degenerate. Like, that's what it is. It's nothing else than that. And, you know, like, that's disgusting. But like, those people, they don't know any better. Like, you saw that video. I don't know if you were watching the stream I did, or somebody saw the stream I did the other day, and you see this French tranny person in France get like attacked by a bunch of Algerian Muslims or something like that in like crowd, and she's like, oh, getting punched, and they're like, get out of here, you queer. And it's like these people, they're idiots. Like, they're useful. She was genuinely surprised, or he was genuinely like, oh, well, and they still didn't blame those people. They're like, oh, well, they're oppressed, and oh, it was only a couple ignorant people that was in the crowd. But if it was like a Trump rally, they'd be like, oh, those Nazis, attacked me and shit, because they're just programmed to react that way when it comes to white people. They see brown, they see other religion other than Christianity, good thing. But they see Christianity, bad. White man in a suit, bad. That just works in their brain. It's just shoved in there. They don't. I don't even think that most of them realize kind of like what they're doing. But other than the people who have kind of set this stuff into motion, right? I think that, like I said, most people, they don't know. Like, they're not. No, most people are not in some cabal working behind the scenes to subvert everything. Maybe there's some people, but most people were just kind of set in motion after being programmed a certain way, and you're like, and you don't even have to do anything. You just let it happen. Let the leftism flourish, and you will get division within your society. You will get that one of the thing that leads to that is, I think, democracy, right from the very beginning, because that is just a tool that will always be used to pit people against each other, because it's always going to be a mob rule type thing where it's 51% of the population gets to vote on what 49% of the people want. And that's always going to create tensions and problems, and that's just more crevices, more creases for people to go in there and divide us more with wedge issues, just kind of like the wealth transfer payments that are going on between Canada right now, right? It's like, and then that just opens the door for more of this shit, more of this subversion to go on in our society, because we're being bought off a lot of the times, or being paid to look the other way, right? Oh, here, take this money, take this free money for this and that, and we take it and we ignore the problems that are festering in society. We ignore the things that our kids are saying about school, right? Just shut up and listen to your teacher, right? And then then we get what we get today, and that's why I think that. Yeah, we can blame the government, and it's definitely the government for sure, but we all have to understand our own ownership in facilitating this and taking kind of the blood money, from the government and stuff a lot of the times, because it just makes all of this easier, all of what they're doing easier, because we're kind of like in it now. It's kind of like Scheer. When he comes to trying to argue with the liberals, he can't, because he already agrees with a lot of the things about climate change. He doesn't really have an argument. So if we're taking their money, they're like, well, you do like this and you like this and whatnot. So they can always kind of back you up into a corner. But I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in there. But I think I'm probably going to wind it out soon, maybe 15 or so minutes, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm getting tired.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's getting pretty late. I think the streams are going on for about 2 hours. We'll do a little bit longer. If anybody else has some questions they want to bring up, let me know. Put it in the chat. Put my name in there. If I missed anything, I'll go look up here.
I'm sure AJ won't object to getting more super chats to enable him.
Oh, right. I don't think anybody would object to that. No, don't give me money. But once again, yeah, thank you, Captain. I'm trying to see the name here up there. I can't remember. Oh, yeah. Catman Don't 100. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Our bears, welcome, AJ. Yeah, they're welcome. Oh, you're welcome here.
Just like bring in Owen. I want to have Owen on.
Yeah. Bring in Owen Benjamin. He's allowed to come on.
I want to ask him a few questions. So I'll close it off with one thing here. There is an article. This was last year, but I don't know how it wasn't really publicized as much. But the restaurant that AOC worked at was closed permanently, and they closed because of the wage controls. They said because they were forced to increase the wages to the standard $15 per hour, the guy had to close his shop, and his staff of 150 were then out of a job. So I find it really funny when the government tries to get engaged in what and how much a business should make, because they get a base salary plus tips. So really funky on a way to leave a business that hired her to serve drinks, which is really where she belongs anyway. But I'll leave it at that. This is what I just wanted to bring up. It was from the Blaze.
Yeah, she's a joke. Just talking in front of the crowd of black people and like changing the way she talks. Like that was just so noticeable too. And you're like, did you watch this after? We're like, oh my God, I sound so stupid. But, unfortunately, she is just an example of society and where it has gone. And if you ever seen that movie Idiocracy, ever seen that movie?
People mention it more and more these days.
we're almost there, and she is like the shining model of what the fuck that looks like, right? It's the dumb shit that comes out of her mouth is ridiculous, and people are like, "Oh, you're so smart, you're so great," and all this crap. But she like I said, like we're moving in that direction, like and that's scary, right? The stuff that she's saying, and it gets so much support and praise, and you're like, "Whoa, that's such a good idea," right? And I guess if you don't know anything, you're not paying attention to anything, then it does sound good, because I can even remember when I was younger, right? People were like, "Oh, tax the rich," and I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea," blah blah blah, right? But then you just watch a little bit of Milton Freeman or something, and you're like, oh, that makes a lot, more sense, right? But yeah, right. Go ahead if you want to interject there. I forgot, kind of lost my train of thought, to be honest.
So I want to kind of, sometimes I like certain websites. I think they deserve some recognition. There is one website that I've been binge watching as of late. I've sent it to Chris already. It's called The United Spot. I'm going to share the screen. Hopefully you guys can hear it. There's this one little thing I just want to play back. It is hilarious. He basically pegs most Democrats. But this is AOC on the casting couch. So let me see if I can play this. Can you guys hear it?
Not yet. And we can't see. Okay, now we can see it. Play it.
Are you playing it?
Yeah.
He's playing it now.
I can't hear it. Maybe send it to me, and then I can maybe play it.
Yeah, this is really funny. I wanted to play this as a closing, because and he has a ton of shit up. He does his impression of what's that old fart's name? She's the
Pelosi.
House Whip, Pelosi. He does a great Pelosi. Like she's an alcoholic all the time, but this one is pretty funny too. And anyways, it's The United Spot. Like I said, I've been binge watching this for the last 2 days because it's just too funny. If you want to play it back, so let me stop sharing. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't want to necessarily get a copyright necessarily. Like what was the guy's channel's name?
The United Spot.
United Spot.
Yeah.
You sent in the chat here. Okay, 1 sec.
Yeah.
Oopsie. Okay, 1 sec. Got it up. Let me just unmute it here. Okay. Can you hear it? Just want to see if
yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, one second. Let me turn it up. So I'm just having a little bit of lag issue here. So I got a bunch of tabs opened. Come on, you son of a bitch. Okay, there we go. Pardon my language. Pardon my language, people.
Disavow.
I normally don't swear like that. That's not true. Okay, 3, 2, 1, now.
Hey, I appreciate you coming in. Thank you. What's your name? My name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Casio? You related to the watch people? What's a watch? Oh boy. What do you do for a living? I'm a bartender. A bartender, huh? What brings you in here today? Well, I'm really interested in the couch, but I'm just not sure I can afford it right now. What couch are you talking about? The couch I'm sitting on? That couch isn't for sale. Then why would you be advertising the couch for sale? This is a job interview, honey. A job interview? Oh my gosh, is it like to sell couches?
Blah, 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 blah. I'm commenting on the video.
Do you mean write like a light? Jesus Christ. Okay, what is it that you want to do in life? Well, now I'm kind of interested in selling couches. What country do you live in? New York. Are you comfortable doing doggy style? I don't believe in doggy style. I find it offensive to dogs. Okay, well, are you any good at oral? I'm really, really good at speeches. Do you enjoy anal? I can be a bit meticulous, so yeah, I guess I enjoy anal. Tell me what time it is? It's 610 o'clock. What's 2 plus 2? I don't have all the answers. Do you think that we could land on the sun? Yeah, but we'd have to do it at night. Duh. Do you have any questions for me? Yeah, does it ever get windy in Australia? I've never seen it rain there on TV, so I'm just wondering, how do the plants grow? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? We need to invent technology that has never been invented yet. And what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm actually thinking about running for Congress. You know what? Actually, you are perfect for Congress. Thank you. I actually...
Oh, God.
So check his channel out. Check his channel out. I swear to God, you're gonna have laughs for hours on end. His Pelosi, and
look at this. This guy. I was gonna bring this up before.
What's this? Holy shit! What's going on here?
Ah, crap! Come on, no.
Hey, you got $200 now, man. Time to upgrade that CPU. Get in some more RAM in there.
Well, that's what happened.
Let's see. What is this?
Watch. This guy pulls. This is why it's good.
Oh. Get your punk ass back here.
Carry a gun. Guns save your life. Yep. Liberals move to stem surge in asylum seekers, but new measures will stop just a fraction of claimants. You fucking piece of shit. Oh, I hate that guy so fucking much. Check this out about the Quebec religious symbols ban welcomed by some who left Muslim countries behind. So, yay. She likes it. She likes the hijab ban.
And I think that there's a lot of people. I was actually just watching something where they talked about, first and second generation immigrants across ethnic groups and kind of the commonalities between them. And definitely one commonality is that people who are, like, say, second generation definitely are just as integrated overall as people who are compared to people who are first generation or people who've been here for a while, even committing crimes at the same rates. But yeah, for a lot of people who don't really want to be polarized one way or the other and just want to live in peace and calm, then yeah, they don't want to have those things. That's really all those signs can be a symbol of division and separation, or represent that to a lot of people, versus let's just be together. It's like when soldiers from the West were serving in the Middle East, and maybe they weren't allowed to wear facial hair as soldiers in North America or Europe. But those rules were relaxed when they went to the Middle East for Afghanistan and Iraq, because the people are so used to seeing people with beards, they don't trust people without them. So they wanted the soldiers to actually grow some kind of facial hair on their face so that the people would actually trust them more. I saw that actually something similar in Dominican Republic when I was there a few years ago, doing some work down there, and they had an election going on. And I noticed that the two of the three candidates had mustaches. And to me, looking at the kind of mustache, it's like, oh, this looks so greasy and terrible. But to them, they're like, yeah, well, they need to have a mustache because that's the people trust people with mustaches. It's just people are weird that way. So anyways, to us, I mean, somebody's covering your face, and now I don't trust you. But that's something that has to be adjusted over time.
So I got a question from Jesus Gonzalez. He asked, AJ, do you think we should take advantage of people like Candace Owen and the Blade Turtle and John Robinson, etc., to speak for us since we cannot say things they can and do? Well, I agree for a lot of those people and stuff, but it's all about, it's tricky, right? It's you want to be careful about promoting certain people who are gonna kind of maybe dilute your message, dilute it. And I don't know, I think Candace, just some of the stuff, I can't think of like everything off the top of my head right now, but a lot of the stuff that I've seen her say has to me seemed kind of like kind of, you know, pushing us backwards in some ways. And I'm like, you know, there are some people you promote that they agree with you on like 80% of stuff, which is good. But then the other 22%, it's like what they promote is really fucking bad. Whereas, you know, there's other people I agree with 80% of, but the other 20%, I don't, it's not, what they're promoting isn't so bad. So I can kind of like, you know, overlook that. Right. But there are some people that kind of come in there, they say all the right things, and they subvert the population. They subvert the group. They come in, and then they're like, yeah, I'm friends with you. I'm friends. And then they build a huge following, and then they divide the group later on by being like, oh, that person groped me and this. And it's like, yeah, I don't trust Candace also because of her history and with the whole doxing thing. She was doxing kids and right-wing people for thought crimes, right? And you know, that was like a year before she turned into conservative. So yeah, I just don't really trust her to begin with. But you know, I don't know. Maybe it's good to use. Maybe we could still use her because honestly, the unfortunate thing is that white people or black people and Asians or whatever, they'll never listen to white people say things, right? If we tell them stuff about what's going on with single mother rates and stuff, they're going to be a lot less likely to listen to us. Not that nobody will, but it won't be falling on deaf ears. Like, we got to understand that. And that sometimes, yeah, if you know, it would be so good for us if black people, Asian people, all these other people went and were like, hey, white people aren't so bad, and hey, white people aren't as terrible, and like try to counter what is going on within some of their communities and the rhetoric that is going on within there. Because if, yeah, a white person comes in there and like, you're white splaining, get out of here, white splainer, or you're this, or you don't know anything because of your skin color, you can't understand, empathize with me, so just go away, blah blah blah, you know, yada yada yada. And you know, it's better for people within their own community to call out people within their own community. But I don't like the way she does it. She's like, get off the fucking plantation, and like you know, it's just some of the things she says I don't really agree with, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she will be really useful. Maybe she will convince a lot of black people and stuff to become more conservative and stuff. But I don't know. But I hope I'm wrong.
I think
sorry.
She's a role, and she's playing a bit of a game of opportunism.
Yeah,
I don't really like her or trust her myself. I mean, Jesus talked about us using them, and I think using her and people like her.
Right.
I think she's trying to use us. So
yeah, she's rich now, probably, right? Like, she's probably made a lot of money off of right wingers, like a lot of money. That's what I'm saying. Like, the things she says doesn't so much appeal to the left. It more appeals to us, and we like it, and then we give her money, right? Because we're like, oh, go say these things that we like what you're saying. And if you're black in the right-wing sphere of YouTube, it's really easy to explode or get like, not, it's easier, right? Not so easy, but it's much easier, especially for somebody like Candace Owens, who exploded really fast, right? There was somebody backing her, right? There was somebody definitely helping her with her social media that already, maybe Mike Cernovich or something was in the works, or some other people, because she kind of blew up extremely fast. She was obviously, must have been shared by some high up type people, right?
Oh, yeah. She's being supported financially by the same people who support Ben Shapiro and a lot of other conservative bloggers, a bit of the Blaze as well, the Mercer family, who actually coincidentally were the ones who created Cambridge Analytica, which was the company that was used by both the Brexiteers and by to influence the election, to do amazing, not shouldn't say influence, but use Facebook ads to impact the Brexit campaign and influence the 2016 election as well. Just do really incredible algorithmic analysis. And so, I mean, if you and I disagree on something regarding the campaign, you would never see the things that I see, and I would never see the things that you see, but it would really kind of dig right into it. So the Mercers are a family to watch and research. Try and stretch their influence internationally, and I'm sure they'll get their hands into our election too at some point. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think we're probably going to end it up, guys. Thank you all for joining us. You know, it was a really good stream. We had a lot of people. Thank you again for the huge donations, and everybody else who gave the smaller ones too. Those were just as valuable or just as valued. Thank you all again for joining us, and all you guys have a great night. Take it easy.
Thanks. Take care.